Hello.
Good afternoon. How you doing, man?
All right. Uh, Not too bad. Had a late night, of course.
Yeah, of course. On your day of rest as well. Shame.
Yeah. Gotta try to get up to a couple things. But the the reason for my sleep deprivation is definitely Darkest Dungeon 2.
I knew
Yeah,
you'd
yeah,
get to it this week.
yeah. For sure, for
I
sure.
want your let's just skip the preamble. What are
Yeah, yeah.
your thoughts on cuz I dabbled in the first game, but
Mm-hmm.
you fiended on it.
I did. And I even went and like did a little refresher run in the last in one just to get it all, you know, um recent in the brain. And the changes are really different, and like it's clear they're trying to create a it's almost as if like this is more of a spiritual successor than it is a direct sequel.
Yeah, like it was a, Blarkest Blungeon
or
made by a different company that
or
was in
like
the spirit of Darkest
well,
Dungeon.
yeah, it's like what if there was a big bunch of drama at Red Hook and then some people left and made their own product for Kickstarter, and then this is what we got, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, you've got the spirit of it in a lot of places, but you're going with some huge changes. Um Darkest Dungeon had a lot of stuff that people found like irritating about the runs, not just the difficulty, but like there was stuff that was like sort of like extra frustrating. For example, your inventory, right? The ability to stack things was always a huge annoying problem where you'd get some really good shit that was worth it, but you're like, do I have to throw out a couple thousand gold,
The answer
or
is yes.
you know? And yeah, because you can only stack so many things, and you can tell what people were interested in the most by just going to like the community tab and seeing what mods people made in the workshop, you know?
There's always something about like a game that it's complicated, and then you go to this happened with XCOM 2 the week it came out. You go to the mod page, and number one, downloaded 80 million times, is turn off the turn timers.
Exactly.
And you get to a point where you're like, this is the design of the game, and this is how we want you to play it. And people go, no,
Yeah,
I hate that part.
exactly.
Darkest Dungeon 1 had that with the corpses, where they actually included the toggle because it was so controversial.
Yeah. So corpses can be good and bad. That's the thing, is you can use them to your advantage, or they can be a detriment. In many cases, they're a detriment. In most cases, they're annoying. But that's one of those things that you see in the workshop. Like right away, you got mods on that. You see mods on stacking. There's like a billion things that are all like stack to the ceiling, stack as high as you want, never ever stop stacking. Every single torch, one stack. All your food, one stack. Shut up, you know? So that was something people really fucking wanted that they didn't like on the default system. And another one was the stress chance for a stress penalty versus a virtue, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would get like, so the way you fill up your stress meter, and then you can you either get a chance at a virtue, or you get a chance at like getting a debilitating, like a quirk, you know? And
Right.
Like people wanted it to be 50-50, but it wasn't
Yep.
50-50. It
No,
was
it was not.
75-25.
Which made it feel like 90-10.
Yeah, because almost always something is going to go wrong, and every once in a while it's like, oh, virtuous, fuck yeah, you know? Or like you get like one of those one of your characters ends up getting a virtue, but for the most part everything always went wrong. So people were like, fuck that, mod it so that it's 50-50, you know? It's interesting. So going into this now, you can see where they just took some of that to the ground level and went, all right, you can increase your stackability for items, but you have to install wagon add-ons to do so.
You have to choose, hey man, stacking is important to me.
Over healing items or other things I can do. Exactly, right? I'm a big stacker. You can see where they went, hey, I like the idea of a 50-50. Admittedly, I'm okay with that. That's fun because your stress meter fills up and it's not something you want to happen, but it's cool if it turns out for the better. In this case, that's gone, and it's really just like, if it's going negative, you know you're going to get something negative. If it's going positive, you're going to know you're going to get something positive. So whenever it has that little screen where it's just like the relationship is tested, you're like, yeah, but I know where it's going, you know? It's more just kind of like, what is it going to be? Like, are my partners going to be amorous? Are they going to be respected?
Hopeful.
Inseparable? Whatever. What is it going to be? But you know which direction you're leaning in, you know? And I don't mind... Like that's a bit more predictable, but I didn't think they necessarily needed to change it from good or bad coin flip. Like, I'm okay with that. Stress as a whole has also become much more manageable. They've nerfed the shit out of that system. And it's interesting because it's still crippling, but it does not kill you, you know?
Yeah.
So back in the day, you fill up your stress meter, you get to 50%, you get one of those things I mentioned, and then you go from 50 to 100, and then you just die of a heart attack, right? And then your stress meter becomes almost more important than your life, you know, when you have a character that's freaking out. Here, it's like every time you have a meltdown, you lose your entire life bar except 2 or 3 points. So you're not on death's door, but you get dropped down to like an inch of death's door.
Yeah, you didn't have a heart attack, you had angina.
Sure. And you can then heal back up from that, and it's okay. In fact, you can pass a turn, and every once in a couple of turns, passing heals you, so you can actually pick yourself out of death's door even if you don't have a healer. It's interesting. So they made these decisions, and it makes some of that a lot easier.
I'm gonna raise my hand up on this.
Yeah.
The feeling that I got from that is that in Darkest Dungeon 1, because I don't know, like 20 hours in before I stalled out, you had the situation where unless you were using those DLCs that added like a real timer to the game, you could keep banging your head on it. And so it was brutal, but like a catastrophic nightmare loss just represented a loss of resources. Whereas in Darkest Dungeon 2, it's the end of your fucking run, start over.
Yes, but there's 2 things, right? Like, they made those things I mentioned easier, but then there's some shit that changes drastically to rebalance it. So those mechanics improve in a way. Plus, and this is huge. Every character and every class you're using has the choice between 5 abilities, not 4. That is massive, because originally you had to pick 4 out of 8 possible moves per character, and now you're picking 5 out of what looks to be like 12 or so. Tons and tons of choice. So you can do a lot more. You can have a much more well-rounded party, a healer that can actually fight, and all sorts of things. So you get more options. Yay, again, a little bit more easy. But 2 things happen. One, you no longer get the ability to use items from your shared item pool in battle.
No, you gotta equip them.
Only one. And after you use that one, it's done. And
hopefully you put the right one on.
So based on the area you're in what you probably want, but you can't be prepared for everything. And that makes it really hard, because now you're like, oh fuck, I don't have the ability to fix this blight, this bleeding, this fire, like you run out of the resources to fix that in fights sometimes. Whereas before you always had a lot, like the full list of options to fix whatever problem you came across. So that makes it harder. And 2, You can't fucking run away. Escape is gone. And that is a huge thing, is if you run into a fight in DD1 and you lose a really crucial, like your leader or your healer, and you've got nothing to make up for it and no firewood.
You just take a real bad crit.
You lose a dude, and then you go, all right, we're out of here, and you escape the dungeon, and then you suffer a stress penalty for escaping, you know? Here, escape is fucking gone. So when one goes down, you might still make it. But if two go down in a fight, you're probably fucking done. You know? And like so I ran into a couple of really interesting situations where it's a futile run. It's completely worthless. I'm down to the grave robber alone, but she can use absinthe to heal herself, and she's surviving on death's door constantly. So this fight is going up to like round 17, and she just won't die. But there's nothing you can do. You can't escape the battle. It turns out that like the harder and the longer you fight, the more hope you get. So it's worth it to keep fighting no matter what. You get incentivized in that way. As we talked about, the hope is your permanent upgrades and things like that. But while it's completely different, it's super fun. I really like fantastic. It. The fact that it's like you have more options on the field, but like less ways to back down, I'm okay with that, you know?
I think that's one of the reasons they put in the turn timers on your average random battle. So you pretty much have to take them all out within 5 turns.
Yes.
So it's like, if it's going real bad, it's going to end in 2 turns from now. Just hold on until then.
But also, you get no rewards, which makes that fight suck because, you know, you're just losing resources and stress over nothing. You might have reversed a couple of friendships and relationships, which are so important now. But also, like, I'm what am I? Probably like level 12 or so. Like, I'm multiple runs deep, and I have not, like, keeping a relationship positive is almost impossible, right? Like,
it's rough.
It's pretty fucking hard to keep everything on the up and up. And you see that in terms of like the game has these moments where you get into fights and then you can choose between who's going to speak, whether they're going to say something like emboldening or cowardly, and like that will affect other people's relationships. But sometimes you're like, we're about to die. We're all like on like high stress. We're all on low life. We cannot survive another fight right now. We need to move on. But if someone says, hey guys, we should back down, everyone's going to hate that guy, you know? So you're like, it's the right choice to make to run away from the fight, but everyone's relationship inverts because of it, you know? And so you're like,
why'd you got to say that, dude?
So you basically can choose between stress, resources, and how much your party likes each other. And like you get to pick 2 out of the 3.
I ran into these situations where I'm like, oh, there's a supply point. There's a friendly band of people. I'll be able to get some lantern light because I got nothing, right? I got no lamp. And then I get there and like 2 guys are like, oh yeah, sick. Let's help these guys out. We'll get some lamp. And then the 3rd guy is like, let's rob these fuckers. I'm like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing? Now you're causing a fight for nothing. Now we're all going to argue over this for nothing.
Or better, you have no light at all. You're fucking on 0. You come across the survivors, and both two out of 4 party members are like, yeah, fuck them. Like, we, you know, and let's just take shit, and we don't want light. And you're like, this sucks, you know, or let's leave or whatever, and you have no options. So yeah, the randomness is always there, no matter what your circumstances are. But the actual combat is fucking fantastic. It's a really fun way to return to the game system and in style. Of course, the visuals we've talked, like you've mentioned, it's like, yeah, it's impeccable, super beautiful game.
It's the kind of thing where like fighting game players tend to actually zone in on this type of animation work because they have to, because of the way active frames work. But I don't see it talked a lot in a lot of other circles. Darkest Dungeon 2 is going to be the absolute like point to example of what you mean when an animation has hit stop, when it has an anticipatory movement, when it has a like a cooldown movement, and when it has a keyframe, because it's the bluntest. It's pure anticipation, then one keyframe, then the cooldown animation.
So in Killer Instinct, Jago's overhead represents the most important normal in the era of rollback, because Jago's overhead is he holds the sword back and then it takes like a half second and then he snaps it on you, right? And because there's so much anticipation in the holding back pose that if rollback occurs during that, you don't feel it. It's a completely invisible moment where the game can detect which input you're holding, roll back, and you won't notice a change, and then bam, it'll be one or the other, and it'll be a flawless experience in your netcode, right? Visually going hand in hand and working together. That attack is what everything in Darkest Dungeon 2 feels like. You got that wind up, that setup, and then boom, explode into the keyframe, and then the unload, the unpack. It's so smooth and nice.
I hit him really hard. Time to put the shake my hand and put my sword back on my shoulder.
Have you unlocked the new class, the Runaway? Did you try them out?
I didn't play it much outside the day that I streamed it.
Okay, so there's a new class called Runaway. And it's this girl that has like she uses fire a lot, and she has like a poker and like a chain with like a flame on the end. And a lot of her shit is just like spinning the flame into position, and like it's such a cool thing when you click on the attack and get ready for it, as she basically spins it into different positions again before she positions to strike or to backdash and stuff. And it really like the old classes are like looking better than they used to, but the new one is like built for this, you know?
Oh man, I'm looking at this Runaway character. I got footage of her. Man, this character looks cool.
She looks really cool. Unfortunately, she's not as useful as I wanted her to be. but
it's early.
Yeah, I have to figure out what else she's got going on, which gets me to actually the next point, which is when you go through these maps and you have the spread that is like Slay the Spire. Right now, it's almost unfair in the priorities of your caravan, because as you uncover different things to go to, you can go pick a fight, you can go get resources, but there's only one thing that really matters that you're gunning for every time, and that is the backstories of your characters.
It's such a massive power jump the instant you get those new moves.
It's crazy. And of all the encounters you can get to, like, fuck going to a store, fuck going to a hospital, fuck even a watchtower where I can see everything. I mean, that helps me find the backstories. But you go to the backstory, and then you pick one of your characters, and you get one of 5 chapters that are excellently narrated and, like, awesomely presented, where you go back into their past, and you either play a chapter or just listen to what happened to them, and then unlock another move of those 12 permanently for that class on your save forever.
And most importantly, like, some of them have fights depending on what chapter. Some of them don't have fights depending on what chapter. But even if you do fight, they're flashbacks, so they don't take any resources.
Yeah.
And you get something out of it. It's one of the only places you can arrive that is just a universal, positive, good thing to get. There's no downside.
You get good story, you get new moves, and like the flashback fights are like them playing with the system. Like you like there's a couple. I don't want to spoil any of them, but like some of them like create. For example, there's one where there's one of the characters fucking like just lost and fucked up and did some bad stuff, and then like has to come back, and then they're in a fight where your options in the fight are, your move list is grovel and apologize. And you have to deal with a bunch of people in front of you in a combat situation, you know? It's really interesting how they play with that stuff, you know, and then you unlock more moves. And yeah, you just kind of like, if you know which classes you used to play that you liked, you know who to hammer on to get to the good shit. You know you want to get that point blank shot with the Highwayman. You know you want to get your Hellion leveled up so you can get breakthrough. You know, so that's nice to see all the old familiars and classics. And yeah, having the 5 abilities is a nice, like, I feel like it's opened up my options. You know, I feel like I'm using, yeah, like you're less constrained, so that's nice. Now the game is not without its flaws, and that's because it's certainly early, and I have more than a couple. First and foremost, that cart feels like shit.
Yeah, you remember me talking about it last week?
Supremely so.
You have a bunch of options. Like, you have 3 sliders, I think, that controls the movement of the cart, and there's nothing you can do to make it feel like anything other than garbage.
So you can change the cart sensitivity to high or low. Making it go as high as possible for me helped a little bit. It made it more responsive, but I honestly just want the feature gone. I understand that they kind of wanted to include, like, they could have just made click to your next map point, right? But they wanted to include something of the walking through the dungeons in the old game.
Right.
And in this case, this is how they do it. Now,
they want a cooldown period after a big stressful event.
And that's all right. But what I would say is, at the bare minimum, just take away this clunkiness of it and make it so that it auto runs, and if you want to steer left or right, just use the mouse, and whenever you get to a fork in the road, click on one of the 3 forks you want to follow. You know? Yeah. Just let you, because you have the auto run there, and that's nice. But like, if you just auto run and ignore everything, then you're missing items on the road that you might want to collect. So now you're incentivized to keep steering in this awful system. And then when you get to a fork in the road, if you're not paying attention, you might accidentally choose the wrong one. Just let it stop and just pick which way you want to go, and then we're done. You don't have to think too hard about this. It feels like shit, but fortunately, it's an easy fix. You know.
I'd be good with it being automated.
Yeah, automate it, and then let me pick which road to travel down. You know, of course to fully automate it would then mean people would just want to skip it. Which, yeah, I guess you can just do. But like, they want to have that cooldown sense of travel, exactly. So do something, but as it stands right now, it feels awful to steer. Sometimes, because the way it looks, the horses veer to the left, thus the cart veers right, but you're at a fork in the road, so you think like you picked the wrong direction for a second, and it's poor. It's not working out. It looks great, it feels like shit, and you have to do it constantly. That needs to be the biggest addressed thing. Second part about that is, so going back to the first game, I remember I mentioned you could play the entire game with a mouse except for one thing. Selling items required you to hold shift.
Huh.
Everything else is mouse only. And I like that, seeing as I can sit on a couch without a keyboard on my lap and just play casually, comfortably. I enjoy that, you know? A lot of games I was like a lot of the games I played actually had that. When I got into the Breach, when I got into Bumbo, like, all these things were just like mouse only. And in this case, yeah, you don't need the keyboard for one fucking thing. Here, they now make it so that you have to control the keyboard with WASD, and they make it so that you can't pull the pause menu up unless you press escape. There's no button to click on, you know? And then there's a bunch of other things where it's like the only way to see some of the icons that are the only way to know what a buff or a debuff is, you have to hold Alt. So now they've made the keyboard more essential, but it's still like, this doesn't have to be the case. You can just quality of life these things away.
You should get one of them MMO mice, and then you can just map all your keyboard to your right hand.
Well, that is exactly what I did.
Oh my god. That was a joke, Woolie.
No. So I have a mouse that has 3 different side add-ons to it, and I'm using the second one that has 6 buttons. So I have 6 buttons on my thumb, and the first 2 are left and right. The second 2 are up and down, and then the last 2 are Alt and Escape. So now when I play, I double tap the W on the button, and then the cart auto rolls, and then I just tap the left and right first buttons to steer the cart left and right. I don't need the keyboard. It completely eliminated the need for the keyboard by using one of those mice. But it doesn't change the fact that the game should have a built-in system for this that doesn't require this.
Do you have like some kind of moral like issue with keyboards? Is there like I've seen you use a keyboard, you didn't seem upset.
No, but I have a tactile keyboard that has wires plugged into it, and it's just annoying to have to pull it up from where it is with wires on both sides of it into my lap. It's just it's kind of cumbersome, you know? And the way the stream setup is over there especially, it makes my life a lot easier if I can just use a mouse. But this has been the case long before, you know? If you do have one and it's there, that's cool, but it's a game that doesn't need it. It's some easy fixes to avoid, and there's no need to increase this dependency. For example,
here's what they really need to do. They need to get fucking controller support working in that thing right away, because I bet that steering shit is going to make a lot more sense when you're playing it with an analog stick.
I imagine it would. The ability to like soft turn, perhaps, you know?
Well, because sensitivity as an option makes a lot, like, it's like, I'm still just holding down digital A or digital D.
Yeah.
And I'm having to time it instead of just being able to go to the left or right with my thumb.
But there's some shit where it's like objectively, no matter how much no matter whether or not you think you care about the keyboard being involved or not, right? That could just be a me thing. But the old game had a candle in the corner you could click on to bring up the escape menu.
That is a little weird that that's not there.
And now there's nothing there. That's just objectively worse, right? For the state they're rolling it out in early access. So taking feedback, I really hope they return things that used to be there, like a pause button that you can click on. You know, it seems really strange that's nothing you can do. Furthermore, the decision, it's a mixed bag, but the decision to change the way moves are explained when you highlight them or when you click on them is now it's better and worse at the same time.
I didn't notice any changes, but I'm not that super familiar with the first game.
So the first game, when you highlighted any moves or when you highlighted an enemy, what would happen is you would see a little pop-up window with a full description of like what it affects. Bleed resistance goes up. You cause bleed on the enemy or on your target. You see the positioning. You move back by 1 space. It'll give you a crit percentage, and then all these are the various things, right? And it spells it out, and then it'll in some cases describe like full party heal or whatever the case is,
right?
What they decided to do is they're looking at it as like, let's simplify what people are looking at when they highlight any moves, because they don't want to have too many words and make it seem too complex. So they've turned it all into icon language, right? And that helps make things take up less space.
Like a lot less space.
But it means there's a lot more icons that you have to that you better be used to or familiar with, and sometimes you can highlight them. In most cases, you can highlight to see what that icon means, but in some cases you can't, right?
There was a moment when I was streaming it where I got something, I forget what to move, and it interacted with it says increases whatever against, and then it was a symbol of a blue shield that had a crack in it.
Exactly.
And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that's saying to me.
Exactly, right? Now, to find out what that is, in most cases, you would have to press escape because there's no candle to click on, then go to there's a token glossary that shows you the 30 or so tokens that you can be afflicted with, right? And these are good and bad included, dodge tokens, defense tokens, protection, etc., vulnerabilities. You see a list of them, but not every icon the game uses is in that list, right? Some are only in like a particular attack when it's directed at an opponent, and some are in places where you can't, like, sometimes there's you'll highlight an item or a trinket, and it'll say gives 20% to something, but you can't click on that trinket to then go find out what that thing is. You just have to like recognize it, and if it's on the list of the tokens, then you'll see it there. But there's some that weren't, and you're like, okay, then I don't know which icon this is. Plus, there's
the specific thing that I ran into was I was like, oh, what's that? So I hit G, which is the glossary button, right? And I hit G, and I'm looking at all the blue icons.
Yeah.
And I didn't see the icon that was mentioned. And all I could intuit is that icon I was seeing on the tooltip was the generalized category icon for that whole batch, which wasn't there, and I'm like, just put the fucking thing down. Just write it. If you're going to use symbol language, please, god damn it, put all the symbols in there.
Yeah, so, and then on top of that, so the G key will pull that up, sure, but then the Alt key is necessary on other screens to get details on the other set of icons that occur only in pre-battle exchanges. So when you meet a bunch of people to help on the road, when you meet a bunch of people before a fight, and like there's a number of circumstances that can change, you see them underneath your characters, and in that case you need a different set of it's defined with a different button, and you hold up that information, and it'll say, oh, this will give you plus 15 to your fire, it'll give you these key resources and a couple other things, trinket chance or you know, quirk chance or something like that, at which point you're like, well, it's just adding a single line of text above those things. Why not just have that already there always? You know,
we talked about this before, about people like starting a brand new game the first week it comes out and going, nah, this needs to change. I'm thinking of the stacking in Darkest Dungeon you mentioned, turn timers in XCOM, but the one that I see very commonly across multiple games is the mod better or expanded tooltips, which is you like say a lot of CRPGs have this mod where you mouse over something and the description will be does a moderate amount of damage to and it's like nobody wants to know how much it does on the fucking sliding scale of subjective qualifiers. I want to know that it does 19 to 22 times 3 damage in a burst.
Yes,
fucker.
Yes.
Like, I can see a toggle for this in Darkest Dungeon 2's options eventually that is literally just expanded tooltips, and then you mouse over it, and a big fucking box comes up that shows all the numerical data and uses words for all of these fucking things.
Fortunately, most of the time, Darkest Dungeon 1 and 2 will specify the number of hit points or healing points you're going to get out of something, but in some cases, you're going to equip an item that heals a moderate amount, and it doesn't tell you what a moderate amount means. You know,
that was one of the they're doing that in not Darkest Dungeon, Dead by Daylight. Every single add-on that you could equip to a survivor or killer had language like significantly decreases cooldown time when equipped. And there was no number on any of it, the whole history of the game. So you'd have to go to a wiki, you'd have to go to some guy's YouTube who would run calculations on it. It was a total mess. Apparently they're finally changing that, or have just changed it, to tell you what the fucking percentage increases and decreases are.
Yeah. Don't worry about it is not a good design philosophy in most cases, especially if it matters a lot to, you know, like the outcome of whether you can fucking, if that's the right move to do or not, you know?
Yeah, my favorite is in Dead by Daylight, you'd equip an add-on that says, It says slightly increases the range of your, let's say, lunge. And you'd be playing with it, and you're like, I can't tell the difference. Is there a difference? Is this broken? Like, I legitimately can't tell. And then you see some guy's channel where they fucking do the testing, and they're like, it increases your lunge range by 0.017%. So I guess it's not a lie. And it's
yeah. So that's currently something that's pretty annoying, and what also is happening, and again, there's benefits, there's pros and cons to this, but the decision also was clear. Like, I can tell that the designer of the game, the UX, the person responsible for the user experience, looked at the HUD of the first game and went, "This is too cluttered. This needs to stop," and they basically threw it all out and took it back to brass tacks.
They said, "Listen, fucker, there's a lot of text on this screen, and that's going to be really hard to fit onto your iPhone when this gets ported to it a year from now." Okay?
Yeah, right. Because old game, you had your 8 moves or your 4 moves, right? And then underneath that, you had the extra information. And then you had, to the right of that, all your inventory or the map. You'd have to switch between 2 tabs. And then next to the right of that, you'd had the enemy information and what their moves would be and what they could do to you. And so it was admittedly a lot. And I get that, like, that was cluttered. And there's ways to do that better. But what we got now is, now you only have your moves and, like, very little information in terms of just, again, like, it's all icons, all minimal, all really simplistic, things that just add extra time to you figuring out, like, what am I looking at? What is that icon? And then in some cases you're talking about, like, oh, this will make it better on a touch on a phone screen. But there's icons where if there's 2 little swoops, that means this enemy has a 50% chance of dodging whatever you do. But if there's a 3rd swoop on this tiny little icon, it's actually a 75% chance. And
each swoop is 25%.
And I'm looking at that and I'm like, I can see that fine, but I'm sure there are people out there, if you just want to talk about, like, accessibility, where, like, these icons are not distinct enough from each other. One of them is
I have a 75-inch television, and my wonderful fiance sitting in this spot playing House of Ashes last night could not tell where a monster's arms were on the screen.
Jeez, yeah.
When it took up the whole screen.
Yeah.
Like, these kinds of changes to anyone other than having good vision is impossible to see.
So the shields are insane because there's 3 little guard icons that can appear, and they're 3 little golden shields. And the difference is one shield has 1 like stroke around it, and then the other shield has 2 strokes, and then there's one with 3. And it's like you're just, at a glance, they're the same fucking icon, guys. And they're only appearing very tinily next to the attack or underneath the character. And you can't get any information from that. So, like, on the one hand, yay, let's clean it up and let's make it visually nice and remove all these elements. But on the other hand, you have this problem of, like, you're not communicating this game effectively enough, and the game system has not changed in a way that means you can ignore this information. It's as vital as it always was, but now it's more obtuse to discover / to figure out what it is. And you've added more, because burn is now a status you can be afflicted with,
Like burn is a status.
Yeah, there's a bunch of shit, So that needs to fix for sure. The visual, the user experience, the visual language of the icons, like, communicating what they are right away. And it wouldn't take that much extra space to just write the word, like, of whatever the status is. You abbreviate it anyway in most cases. So they really, that needs some fixing for sure. Yeah, that's my biggest complaint. The replacement of campfires to inns feels really nice. I like it. It works out well. I feel like at the campfires, you would always be like, how do I spend these points before we go to sleep for the night? And you might get ambushed, which, you know, I didn't mind that system for sure. But here, because you spend a bit more time at the inn prepping every step of the next leg of the journey, it feels much more like a real downtime, you know? So that's a great choice where everyone's sitting around the fire. Okay, play some games, play some darts. Some of you guys can eat some food, do some boxing.
Box a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and then deal with their stress levels and their possibly, can we get you guys to hate each other a little bit less? Can we get the hatred down, you know?
Oh, man. You know, just thinking about this, I'd like, there's two thoughts that popped in my head that are very tangential to this, but I've never talked to you about them. You played a good deal of Yakuza 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's decision was to switch around what red and blue mean when you equip something.
Oh my god.
Should go to hell.
Oh my god, that was brutal. My brain was fighting every step of the way of like, red bad, right? Red bad? No, red good.
Beat that game and still, like with hours to go, was still having to go like, wait, which is it? Yeah, okay.
Hey guys, purple means healing and green is poison.
Oh,
green
good.
is the color of poison and purple
that makes
means
sense.
healing.
Green's poison and purple's a nice color because I like purple. So
yes.
Yeah, good, done. Everyone's gonna understand that.
Oh man, especially when you're trying to like fit into a genre as like a joke almost, you know, an existing thing. Yeah, you don't get to change the rules. You've come in too late.
Do you remember an interview about Bulletstorm way back in the day where they were trying to shake things up in the first-person shooter? By the way, I like Bulletstorm. That's a good game. And they made the decision early on to make exploding barrels a bright green in that game.
Oh man, that's coming back now. Yeah.
Did months of play tests, and there was nothing.
No one
they could get. There was nothing in game. There was no tutorial. There was no voice acting cue. There was no situations they could force on the player that would get people to shoot green barrels. It just didn't happen.
Unbelievable. Yeah, no, it just like sometimes you come up and you're like, I am a fan of doing original things, but some design elements where you're pushing up against the grain on an established mechanic, you're gonna have a hard time no matter what.
Linguistic shorthand cannot be changed in a vacuum. Like you can't just decide. Like, yeah, there's a decent, I want to say it's a Rasputin video in which they discuss the use of purple in games and how purple near universally means corruption or poison or whatever. And the reason for that is because purple doesn't really occur in nature very often. So it's going to necessarily clash with almost anything in a naturalistic landscape and stick out and go, this is different. And then you throw some ooze on it, and bam, poison. Everybody can tell from a glance that that's poison.
As opposed to the color of blood or the color of nature, you know?
Hey, what color's your health bar?
It's fucking green.
No. It's red.
Okay,
almost everything.
Well, no, it depends.
Or it turns from green to red.
Or yellow. Oh, boy.
Yeah. we're gonna have a health bar where your health is blue, and people are gonna spend the whole game going, why is my magic going down when I'm getting hit?
Yes, exactly. Right. It certainly does depend. It certainly does depend. But sometimes you get it green, sometimes you get it red, sometimes you get it yellow in fighting games, and then it changes colors. But regardless, yeah, that's a very clear thing. You know, hey, I'm playing this game, and every time you attack something, the numbers pop up off of the enemy. Those numbers are the speed of the attacks you're using, actually. Now
Hey, Woolie, let me ask you a question. You're playing a game in which numbers pop off the enemy. You hit the enemy, and the number is white. What does that mean to you?
Wait, the number is white?
Yeah, it's just a regular, like, off-white white when you hit the enemy.
Okay, it depends on every other number. If a ton of numbers are popping up and they're all one color, and then suddenly...
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Then that's a normal attack. Then that's a normal attack.
Okay, and every now and then, a number will pop up that's yellow. What does that mean to you?
Crit, probably.
Right. And what does the red number mean? A big crit, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
That's how Warframe does its numbers.
Yeah.
And everyone just instantly understands, oh, okay, that's, yeah, right.
And if a green number pops up, uh-oh, I'm healing you.
14 just has the number stay the same color, but a crit has an exclamation point at the end of the number. And what's called a direct crit makes the number twice as big and puts 2 exclamation points at the end of it. There's no confusion. There's absolutely no way you can see a giant floating number with exclamation points on it and go, I wonder what that means.
It's the speed. Yeah. No, so you just this language stuff is important. You do have to acknowledge it, admittedly. But anyway, yeah, the inns are really successful change to the system, and on the one hand, like, I feel limited because the stagecoach right now only has, like, I only have one healer, and it's Paracelsus, the plague doctor.
Occultist.
But I'm looking for no. So the occultist.
She not the occultist?
No. It's the plague doctor.
Oh, okay, my mistake.
But the occultist is, for me, the last class I can free up, and that would be my other healer option, which is going to take a while. So I feel more limited in my parties, and my expeditions are like, I kind of want to get there a bit sooner, you know. On the other hand, the old way where you had a cart of random people to hire, sometimes you just got unlucky and you just didn't get what you wanted. You just had to make do.
This caravan's a bunch of losers, man.
Yeah, you know. So now you've got to fucking make do with what you got, and you know, like, I wanted a houndsman, but I couldn't get one, and you know. But on the other hand, now I can never get that occultist in my runs until I finally unlock it. So I always have to use a plague doctor, and that's like, I want to mix it up, though. You know,
that's a lot more like a classic roguelike, which is just like, learn to use your basic tools before you get your fancy guns.
Yeah, I guess, right? And you start the new run, and you get your pick of the litter. You get your specific team configuration that you can build out. So I made it to the mountain. I made it to the mountain once and got wiped, and went like, got it. This is the darkest dungeon, truly. And it feels as if, like, the speed at which you can make it there and get through it, yeah, it's going to be a lot faster this time around. It's going to be a lot easier, like you said, that 5-hour experience, probably even shorter, honestly, unless there's like some new shit that unlocks after you get deeper inside of it. You could do that in almost like 2.5 hours. You could get through a solid run.
So, by the way, I have to correct myself from earlier in the week, in which I said that getting to the end on your first run is probably impossible. Literally, I think that day or the day after, November 4th, so that would have been Thursday, a Dead by Daylight streamer that I follow named Darva literally just posted a YouTube video of my first run in Darkest Dungeon 2, in which he beats the fucking thing in 5 hours and 17 minutes.
That's incredible. On the first run? Wow.
Yeah. The dude's a fiend. He's just real good. And what happens is that you pass through the mountain only to end up back at the level select in that void.
Yeah. And then you get to chapter 2 for sure, or something.
Yeah, so it looks like that's the way they're going to do it. Well, you'll have to beat the first chapter to unlock the second, then it'll continue to go.
Denial, and then whatever else comes next, you know?
So it'll still be a plenty long game. It will take at least 25 hours to beat.
If you want to get all of those runs done, sure. And it's funny because I was curious going into it. I'm like, the best thing about your game is the narrator, and what are you going to do going forward? And the answer is, yeah, Wayne Jude is just going to be here. He's the voice of Darkest Dungeon, and he's not going anywhere. And you best believe the Ancestor has more things to say.
The Ancestor happened to be pals with the Scholar, and he sent him a letter before he died in the intro of Darkest Dungeon. And that letter just happened to be like 1,000,000 words long.
Yeah.
And it managed to just correctly guess every conceivable event as it happened with context.
Yeah. No, it's too powerful a voice for him to ever not be there. It's insane, you know? So super glad to have him back and doing all these new line reads. Really, really good ones. And like some of the old classics, you know, was Singular Strike and stuff that are back. But I'm like, I'm waiting to hear some of the new quotables. But yeah, no. So but I've in my runs I've done or I've unlocked Jester and Hellion and the like I said the Runaway class. And yeah, no, it's just I'm definitely gonna like lose myself in that for a while, and then whenever the next update comes and erases all my saves, then so fucking be it. The Epic Game Store still sucks. Whatever. Is what it is. But Darkest Dungeon 2 is fucking great. It's fucking great. And you know what? I will say this. If you are someone who liked the first one, there's a lot to like here. But even if you didn't, you can still pick this one up and play it, and it's quicker to pick up and get into. And it is
a significantly different game.
It's a streamlined experience, right? This is a much simpler thing, where beforehand the foray going out, there's a lot more planning to do. Like, so much of the game took place before you even went out in DD1, and then like thinking on the fly. And in this case, they take away some of that and they make it more like improvising as you go and dealing with what you have. But like there's less to think about and more to just like play actively. And the fights are fucking hard sometimes. You know, sometimes you just get a shit deal where you hit 0 and now you enter the fucking abyss and you're fighting the Shambler right away and you've got like no resources whatsoever. Other times, you know, you get a character who's constantly making themselves stealth so you can't target them. But also, if someone dies, there's a resurrector on the field, and you've got like 2 turns left. It gets into some fucking really hard situations, which is exactly how the old game used to be. But it's a simpler like pick up and play, you know. So I definitely think grab that, touch it, play it, and get in there. I do hope they address some of those things, and I do hope we get like the relationship system. The relationship system is better than the old stress system, but I miss some of the old because this is so different. You know?
Well, luckily Darkest Dungeon 1's still there.
Sure is.
I think is like legitimately the actual answer you would get from somebody on the dev team.
Yeah.
Like I read an interview in which they were very clear that they wanted DD2 to be a non-replacement game. They didn't want to invalidate DD1.
They succeeded with that.
So I gotta ask, you played DD1 in early access a good deal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did I ever talk to you about the state of dice rolls in Baldur's Gate 3?
You must have when you first broke down that early access
So
run.
way long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the more interesting things about early access is how willing the developer is to compromise on their vision, right? If players universally go, "Yo, this sucks," you can either go, "But that's my vision," or you can capitulate. So I remember Darkest Dungeon 1 when it came out. I don't think it had that corpse toggle, and I think corpses came with version 1.0 because I remember people right when version 1.0 of Darkest Dungeon came out complaining like crazy that, dude, I love this game, I supported it all this time, and this corpse thing is totally ruining it for me.
Really?
And they eventually put the toggle in. Yeah, there was a lot of anger about that.
Corpses are they're an extra degree of difficulty, but they can be tactical, right? Like,
right.
I have a Hellion in my front row, and I have her with a buffed up Iron Swan, which is an attack that goes front row to back row, which means corpses holding something in the back row is good for me when that turn comes around. You know,
I get that, and I don't personally mind, but at the same time, I can understand that like people who've been playing the early access build for 9 to months to a year and had learned how to like it, didn't like the change. A lot of the stuff that you're complaining about in Darkest Dungeon 2, like it's going to depend on like how true they want to stay, like the tooltips, right?
Yeah.
If they're put their foot down, it's like, no, this is the way that this is better. You guys are wrong. And the reason why I mentioned Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, sorry. After you, I keep talking too much.
I was just going to give a side tip just for anyone that if you're having trouble with that. The Grave Robber, go to one of her flashbacks, and the first ability you get when you do one of her memories is a corpse destroyer that heals you. So you get pouches of lie every time, and pouches of lie will destroy the corpses. But pick Grave Robber, memory 1, destroy corpse, get like 33% healing back.
That's pretty good.
So it's fantastic. So yeah.
So the reason I mentioned Baldur's Gate 3 is Larian has been kind of they're probably the #1 dev I can think of in terms of listening to feedback with the Divinity games in early access. They changed a bunch of it, and they even went on to build in some of the more popular mods into the Switch version of the game.
Okay.
Like stuff like regenerating MP when you sleep, stuff like that. And so Baldur's Gate 3 comes around, the early access of like the first thing. They're like, we want this to be the most pure Dungeons and Dragons experience possible. So all these dice rolls are real. And what that means is Plague did a pretty big video on it that I think sums up my point better than I'm going to be able to, is that with real dice rolls in a vacuum, you can just get miserable runs of luck. Just absolutely miserable sequences. I streamed it for a couple nights, and on one of those nights, I failed every single possible roll that I could in every dialogue.
So like just it was true random 1 to 6, 1 to 20. Yeah. Okay.
It was such a goddamn bummer. It was the worst. And in a real tabletop session, the DM who would be making those rolls would eventually just lie and be like, nah, you got it. Hey, man, you just barely clutched it out, so that everyone could have fun.
Or you check your stats, like, and you add to the number to see if you clear it.
So they just say that was the #1, like the early access build, it has issues. That was the #1 complaint with a bullet, no question. So I went, okay, we're going to learn from our peers in the random number generation video game space, like XCOM, and we're going to put a streak system in, where the game is going to recognize lots of successes and lots of failures and try and adjust accordingly. This led to a situation which was, depending on who you ask, even worse, because what would happen is if you got lucky streaks, you were now guaranteed to fail in the near future.
Yeah.
And so they finally have just totally capitulated.
Fun limiter.
And now the streak system is only in place for failure.
Okay.
You will not be penalized for. You'll essentially be given pity rolls if you're
Fun
too
is
unlucky.
allowed. Yeah.
And they have added an option to click a button that reverts it back to the old system of just pure rolls.
If you want it to be that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
And it's like that's one of the things. I read interviews in which they talked about how important it was that they kept it super accurate and the integrity of the dice. And then like this wave of anger and like, no, get rid of that. We're changing that. That was a mistake. That was a mistake.
You know what fucking game could benefit from a system like that? A little old something called Dokapon Journey.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah!
Yeah, what's up?
Because it's been like 3 sessions of absolute shit rolls across the board every time it's my turn.
Yeah.
And it seems to just be localized entirely in my kitchen.
Have you ever thought about, like, being better at the game?
Yeah, well. Anyways. Fucking.
That would... I don't know if that would, like, increase or decrease tension.
All I want is a little report card so that I can just show, like, the consistent...
You can't roll digital dice?
That's it. That's it. Just show, right? And if anyone has anything to say about fairness or unfairness, please refer to the fact that the numbers hate me.
Woolie, there's no such... Woolie, you know what? I don't know what's going on over there, but what you just said, if you are being thrown out of a casino, lamenting, no, you don't understand, look how many it's not fair. People
to quote Min,
bums on the street would laugh at you.
Of course, but that's only one half of the equation. You're only hearing one half of the equation. To quote Min, right? It's not just how bad your rolls have been. It's that Reggie's right afterwards have all been good.
Woolie, I don't know what to tell you. Gambling isn't fair.
Of course not. But like it got to a point where like he was like, dude, I don't know. I just don't know. Like and so anyway, it's interesting because when it comes to like actual dice, you're looking at dice hit the table and you go, well, that's what it is. Them's the breaks, casino, right? And then you look at this video game and you go, is there a rubber banding system?
Woolie,
what's happening here?
You're not gonna contact a dev and find out that there's a hidden stepchild status that's applied to one player at random and then fucks up their dice rolls.
No, but there was stuff in Kingdom that applied only to first place and only to last place.
Well, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, so that it might do shit like that, you know. And I've seen some. I saw a turn of Mario Party where the CPU on 3DS got 6 stars in one turn.
I mean, I've played games of Mario Party in which Bowser comes out and just says that the game's placements are inverted because he feels like it, and then just shits in your mouth. Mario Party, like getting mad at Mario Party feels like an exercise in frustration because God will just decide who wins at the end of the game.
That's it, you know. And I mean, and it's not just rolls. Like I'm saying rolls because that's like the most tangible, like, you know, track of like, look at these bad numbers. But it's also like every event in the game, because when you land on a space, you might fight or an event might occur. And like 90% of them only happen to me, and they usually involve some shit fucking NPC walking up and going like, hey, give me some money. And then you're like, no. And then it's like, well, then you're cursed. Or yes. And then it's like, thanks. And then they just take your money, you know? Or in some cases, it'll be like, hey, give me some money and something good will happen. And then you give them some money and then it's like they just walked away. And, you know?
Or you're cursed.
You know? So it's kind of wild. It's a wild ass streak. But what can we do? Anyways, Dokapon continues, of course. Darkest Dungeon's a good time. I tried. Yesterday was unfortunately a bad kiting day. I had a bad kite day. I went out, tried. The wind was not strong.
Is that your number one criteria? It's just like there's not enough wind.
Yeah.
You go to throw your kite, it just hits the ground.
Exactly. It didn't. There was enough that I got a little bit of flight, but it was ultimately a waste of time. And I was like, you know. You got to keep your eyes on the apps. I kind of just I winged it a little bit. I kind of went like, it seems like it'll be fine today, and went to some of the spots, and unfortunately, nope. So I didn't get to crack open some of the new tech I've been anticipating. Next time.
Sorry, man.
Well, it'll just have to be next time.
Luckily, there's no shortage of wind on the planet. It will come back to you one day.
It will. It will. And just last real quick thing is a personal playthrough of DS1. I wrapped it up and I finished it, and yeah, I forgot the violent difference in difficulty and tone that comes from ripping through the Artorias DLC, fighting him, fighting Manus, fighting whatchamacallit, the dragon, Calamite. And then walking out of there and waltzing up to Gwyn.
Oh my god, it's a joke, dude.
I can't, like, it's so... Oh, yeah.
At the very least...
There's nothing.
At the very least, thematically, it's appropriate because it's like the Age of Fire at its height, and even the losers of the Age of Fire at its height are crazy, and then it's this burnt out old husk.
Yeah, you know, who's parryable, as mentioned.
Oh man, it's so.
But I went in pretty strong to like the Artorias DLC, and you know, again, going back through it, I didn't have anywhere near as much of a tough time because we're used to the systems now. But I still needed to like get my shit together, to like, you know, like to fight like Manus and stuff, and
Manus is for real.
Manus is for real, and Calamite is for real. You know,
yeah.
Like you do have to.
I recently watched a video talking about Kingsfield 1. Calamite is totally the final boss of Kingsfield 1.
Okay.
He's not named in that game, but he has the same head and he's got the big glowing orange eye dead center.
Interesting. Yeah, so you know, and I definitely like went in and just went like, all right, let me build out in a way where I can just fucking Havel shield a bunch of this bullshit and then not have to think about it. But like going from that, you know, and then like alternating between like Havel shielding and then two-handing for a big ass swing of like Grant, you know, with some good faith, like still made those fights like, you know, precision, technical, but good because I'm walking with like 20 vid or whatever. And then you just walk up to Gwyn and swing 4 times and the game ends and you're like, oh man. You know, like old King Allant gave you this cool duel, you know? And this is that, but just the DLC makes you so overpowered for it. I forgot.
have to say that playing Dark Souls 3, do you remember me talking about how Dark Souls 3 felt easier than the other games way back in the day when we were doing the LP?
Because of the experience.
Right, and the average person was like, that's because you over-leveled. And it's like, I've gone through that game a couple times since then. Like, no, that game is a little easier. And as I've gone through these games kind of over and over, particularly the Death remake, right? they kept doing this thing where Death was hard, but then players who beat Death were ready for Dark Souls 1.
Yes.
So they had to make it harder, and so on and so forth. But there's only so much of that you can do before it becomes like legitimately impossible for the average person who's not familiar. And I think Bloodborne is like the line on that. There were parts of Bloodborne that were stupid, and I can't believe that the average person who didn't have experience with the older games was able to get through something like Ludwig in under 100 tries. Like, it's completely ridiculous. And it's fascinating doing all these years. And when the Death remake came out and you go through Death, it's like, this is a joke. Like, the threat level on even bosses is like hilarious.
So the first thing I did, so I beat it, right? And then like whatever, went around and you beat fucking Asylum and then Save Your Souls or whatever, New Game Plus. The first thing I wanted to do, the first thing I did and immediately was just curious about, because it's been so long now, was I'm like, okay, you just had this experience and everything in this game is so much more simple now that you're looking back on it and you have all that that knowledge. Let me see what the fuck that Fume Knight fight was about, because in my brain that still represents the peak of struggle, right? Nothing like made me fucking struggle harder than the Fume Knight.
I remember it well enough. I can tell you right now, the Fume Knight fight is the #1 fight in the history of Dark Souls that abuses a very specific type of boss moveset, which is you're going to do the anticipatory animation, but it's not clear what move is going to come out.
Yep. And one of those moves, like a lot of those moves, are going to be still the rhythm of anticipate and swing, roll right there. But one of those is a slow tracking. If you anticipated and rolled badly, you're dead, right? The slow sweep is there. But none of that actually was the most impactful thing I noticed watching the replay of it. The most impactful thing I fucking noticed looking at the DS2 everything was taking a sip of Estus and how slow you heal. And going like, man, oh my god, have you
that
seen, was it?
What's the last time you saw Dark Souls 3 like gameplay footage where you drink Estus?
Yeah, like years.
It's like done. Like it's like you throw it back like it's a shot, and you can still kind of move while you're doing it.
Unbelievable, you know? So looking at that, I'm like, there's situations where DS1, I'm like, oh, I'm fucked right here. I'm in the shit. I'm standing inside of Seath's crystals, and I'm just taking a sip. You know what I mean? Like, fuck it. But in DS2, like, I'm watching that fight, and it's like, back off, take a sip, and it's like, gulp, gulp, gulp. And then the life bar goes, ooh, you know? And I'm like, that is
it is
brutal.
I will tell you right now, have you ever played even 10 minutes of Monster Hunter? The old ones.
No, never.
Okay, so in the new ones, you drink, and as you drink, your health bar goes up, which is intuitive, right? In the old games, here's what you do, and I would try and get the timing correctly. Sorry for those of you at home who cannot view me. You're going to hit the button, and you're going to drink the potion. Flex. Done. And you cannot move in any of it.
When does your life get, returned,
the instant it touches your lips.
Okay.
But the flex will lock you in place.
Okay.
So the animation takes like 4 seconds.
You know, that feels worse than a really slow drinking animation. Because it's like, so extra.
Move!
Yeah, no, that actually feels worse.
That is totally the fucking inspiration for those original drink times. 100%.
So yeah, I'm like, I went back to look at fucking Fume Knight and just went like, oh yeah, okay, no. I see the bullshit. I see where a lot of that still came from, you know. Anyway,
and so like you get to Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, and you get to this moment where you have two types of boss moves that are supposed to trick you up. You have what I'm going to call the flailing Bloodborne nightmare, which is a mass of limbs that are incorporating full body hitboxes at what appear to be random times, just comes at you.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's a boss which sometimes will raise his sword up and hit you, and then other times he'll raise his sword up and he'll keep it, and he'll keep it, and then it's a sweep.
Yeah, sure,
right?
sure.
And it's like, I hope you didn't roll the instant the arm went up.
Also, sometimes that mass of limbs is also, what am I looking at? What is the shape of this monster? I can't logically make out your figure.
I forget who it was, but they broke down Ludwig, and Ludwig is probably like, it's a cool fight and it's a great fight, but Ludwig probably has like the most unfairness in all Souls bosses ever. There's a charge move that he does that he gains full body hitbox on that has like is it 12 frames of startup? And you have to dodge to the correct direction, but his limbs can still clip you depending on where they are in the animation. And it's like, nobody's reacting to that correctly.
More than Orphan? Yeah.
Yeah. Orphan is fucked up because
to me Orphan's seemed to be the most fucked.
Orphan is fucked up because Orphan breaks a rule. Turns out when that Dark Souls 1 debug copy leaked out, it turns out that bosses in those games are actually modified player characters and still work underneath the same rules that the player does in terms of health and stamina.
You can hack boss control, yeah.
Orphan uniquely appears to have no stamina system at all and just can attack you
just
forever.
Does things. Yes, just does things. Yeah. I just that made more that's the bigger impact. But yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the footage.
But yeah, the video that I was watching, I wish I could remember, but they show like Ludwig's arm going back, and they're like, this arm attack is going to happen in 16 frames, but the start of this animation is the same for two completely different moves. And the part where it starts to articulate only leaves you like 6 frames to react, which is faster than human reaction speed. So, hope you guessed correctly off your panic button.
Yeah, I mean, there's it kind of like there's you know how you go through a bunch of different categories when you're learning a boss, right? Like any Souls boss that gets thrown at you, which I'm sure a couple will be soon, coming our way. You know, with
what are you talking about? There's no Souls games coming out.
But the diagnostic approach that we all take to these now is like, all right, what do you do? Right? 2, how do you feel about me at your feet taking some swings? Right? And then like, what do you do also equals like the arena, look around, who's around, what's happening, where can I fall? Is someone going to stick me in the ass? Whatever, right? Assess. And then 2, how do you feel about me poking your toes a little bit? You know, and then at some point it's like, if the answers to A and B are complete and utter bullshit like the entire time, then it'll just then your final thing becomes, all right, I will not engage with you except for this one moment. What will that be? You know,
it reminds me of so many people had trouble with O and S.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
O and S are ridiculous, right? And you beat O and S, and then you got to beat the super version, right? And most people end up fighting Super Ornstein because it's easier to take out Smough in the earlier fight. And what a tough fight, and you're on your low resources. And then at some point in the process, most people are going to find out, you know, if I jam my head up against his knees, I don't think he knows how to hit me. I legitimately wait. Hold on. If I just rub my character model on Ornstein here, can he? No, he can't. He actually can literally do nothing. Huh? Great.
For
Done.
me, Well, for me, it's the pillar post. He can't get around it.
Yeah,
and like doesn't know what to do about the post. And if he starts glowing on the spear, just get the fuck out of there. And then otherwise hug the post, right? To me, the real version of that is returning to fucking Ulasil, Sanctuary Garden.
Right.
You fight the Guardian on the way in, and then
the Manticore.
Yeah, and then on the way out, you have the optional double Manticore.
Right.
And 2 of them at the same time in an open arena with nothing to hide behind. That's a realer ONS.
Yes. Oh, it's rough.
And that is where what I'm talking about exists, where it's like, okay, literally 97% of this fight is me just moving, and there's going to be one moment where you're going to be open and he's going to be over there, and that's the one swing I get.
It's funny that you mention that because you're describing the only boss fight in Souls history that I have yet to actually beat. And I have no desire to ever beat it ever again. Not the double Manticore, the double Tiger. The double Tiger from the end of the Snow DLC in Dark Souls 2 after Invisible Horsefuck Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I've only gotten to that fight twice. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just don't care.
So, you know, like that to me is like the peak of no matter how bad anything coming from Elden Ring is going to be, no matter how bullshit any of these fights will be.
Oh, you were talking about Elden Ring. I got confused because we were talking about Souls.
No worries. Well, in any case, whatever is coming, right? And I'll throw Sekiro on that list too, you know?
Sekiro is a great example of what we're talking about because the healing animation is the fastest. Because it needs to be.
But like fighting like the owl, like I got wrecked by him so much, but like eventually getting it down to like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait till you do this one attack, you know. And for the Manticores, the Sanctuary Guardians, for me it was after they do the body tackle, which they rarely ever do. There's like 10 attacks they do, and once in a while they'll do a big charge at you, and then you get a swing on the butt, and everything else, fuck it, not worth it, not safe.
Did you fight and beat Demon of Hatred in Sekiro?
Which one is that again? That was the yes, I did.
Boss that they took from Bloodborne.
Totally, yes.
I was talking to Gene about that, and we were both in agreement that boss is complete nonsense because they took it from a different game
and dropped it in here.
It wants you to play Bloodborne against it.
Yeah.
I think Gene's, what did he say? He's like, how am I supposed to do this? I've been a ninja the whole game. I don't know how to do that.
I'm not a hunter.
He's right.
You're not a hunter.
That game, every enemy, even the goddamn fucking apes, you can block and parry, but not this guy. All dodges and jumps.
Yeah. So it's the retrospective looking back on some of this shit is like, FromSoft, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck, you know? Anyway, it's like looking through an artist's catalog. You know, some albums generally have some bangers, and then there's some B-sides, and you're like, oh man, remember this B-side?
I sure do. And then on their next album, they have the important song, the single for it, is one of those B-sides remixed to be a little better. And on the next album, wow, it's all B-sides. It's like they keep reusing the same song ideas over and over, but they just tweak them a little bit so that it sounds different.
What do you mean it's a remix album? I wanted some new Linkin Park. Anyway, whatever. What's going on with you?
All right, let's see. I didn't actually do much this week. I had to. I'm doing this thing where I literally always have to look at my video producer tab in Twitch in order to tell what actually occurred. Mind Goblins this week was Age of Empires 4, which did not actually trigger any Mind Goblins. That's a really chill RTS game.
Sorry, someone says Elden Park. That's really good. I like that.
That's good. I like that. I would listen to that.
Elden Park is strong.
Yeah. Played Age of Empires 4. That just came out. It's a relic RTS off obviously the famous old Age of Empires series. It is a very chill game that is... It does that thing that some sequels do where Age of Empires 1 came out and Age of Empires 2, and Age of Empires is the classic, much like Warcraft 2 or something like that. And Age of Empires 3 was the different one. And then Age of Empires 4 is, wow, this really looks a lot like a 3D Age of Empires 2. There's a real, like, fuck, go back element to it. It has the best keybind system. So apparently this has been a long time thing in Age of Empires, but I did not know it. It has the best RTS keybind system I've ever seen. It's really simple. You pick a peasant, and there's like 30 different buildings you could possibly build, right? And normally in a StarCraft, what you would get is every possible key that is not taken up by a real feature would correspond to one of your team's buildings, right? So you'd pick it, and then you go, problem is, that's a lot of keybinds. That's quite a few. What Age of Empires 4 does, and apparently the earlier ones do as well, Tier 1 buildings, you hit Q, and then it unlocks a second set of keybinds, which includes Q, W, E, R, T, etc. Maybe 6 total. Maybe you want to build a Tier 2 building. Hit W first. And now those keybinds change to the Tier 2
modifiers.
Right.
Okay.
So with only 5 or 6 total keys, you can just go tap, 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 tap. You can also shift click and build like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You control groups are extremely easy. Like it's a really excellently controlling RTS game, which is a weird thing to say because that control style has been so set in stone for so many decades. But even as somebody who has not played an RTS games in many years, hey man, I was easily actually doing what I wanted quickly with keybinds. Looks good, runs well, and the presentation is... I want to give them a gold star. Like, I want to give them like a thumbs up for the decision on the type of presentation they decided to go with. Everything is blue and gold and parchment, and you go to start the campaign, and a posh British lady starts to narrate to you about what England was like in the 1100s, where they show camera pans of nondescript British fields and talk about how long ago there was a battle between the Duke of Hastings and so here. And they put little stick figure men on the thing, and then they'll like CG up, here's what it would have looked like. And it's the History Channel.
Sure. Okay.
The entire presentation, pre, middle, and post every mission is a little history documentary about this invasion out in China between the Mongols and the Rus, or this battle between the Normans and the English, or whatever. And it's constant. It's really well produced.
I like this. I like that.
It's great. It's
I'll take
just a
that
very
over
pleasant experience.
I'll take that over box cover CG Centurion man walking up to his soldiers going, "Men!" You know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It also allows them to skip like 100 years in between campaign missions.
Oh yeah, okay. Because history is just flowing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes shit doesn't happen for 60 years. So it's not very character-based. The character is England or France or China or Russia or whatever.
Hypothetical RTS control here, because I don't, I don't.
You're talking to an amateur himself, so I'm going to give it a shot.
All right. What if, like, buttons to unlock layers, but instead of, like, button into button combo to unlock the layer you want, button and then mouse immediately has like 9 options around it or so, and you just like go up or down or left or like each one brings up a quick wheel right where your mouse is.
So you're not totally nuts because MOBAs have that for quick alerts.
Mm-hmm.
So in League and HOTS, I want to say you would hold Alt down, and then that would bring up a selector, which you would then click the left mouse button, and you would drag to go, I'm on my way, or enemy here, or enemy missing, or something like that.
Yeah.
As for buildings, it's not fast enough.
Okay.
Tap tap and then hold shift and they'll go click 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 is a lot faster.
Yeah, I'm just curious, if that's something that how that would hold up or not. Yeah, all right. Just I don't know. So I feel as if
keyboards are a scourge and they must be purged.
No, I feel as if the double tap or the triple tap would definitely be the fastest for sure. I'm just wondering if anything like did that, or if there was a precedent for anything like that. Yeah.
I mean, I would just say, like, imagine you're throwing out a SRK, and then before you hit the final button, you click your mouse down and then drag it to the SRK button and then release.
Right. Or hold the button down, do the input, and then release. Weapon Lord style or something. Yeah. Anyway, it's just a question.
So yeah, Age of Empires 4, it's not going to light the world on fire, but it's a really pleasant RTS. I also want to give it a huge, big clap. It has the best text options I have seen in an RTS game. A genre that has historically been the worst to play on your television, or if you have bad eyesight, you can make that UI fucking big.
Mm.
Like, they warn you that text might come off the screen big. And it's like, man, I don't care. I want it. I'm far away. I am 9 feet away. I want that big text.
Okay.
And it goes big as shit. There's no problem. I cannot imagine a person who has eyesight problems with this. Does it wrap? What do you
does the text wrap around the area? Like,
no, they're talking about like if you mouse over a tooltip and the tooltip happens to be at the bottom of the screen, because of the extra text size, some of the tooltip might actually bleed off the bottom.
Safe area. Yeah,
compared to just not being able to read it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a huge improvement. It's very impressive. I also, with my wondrous fiance, played and beat House of Ashes last night, in which we got the achievement Golden Path for the ideal perfect ending, including the fact that we made mistakes. The mistakes were perfect.
Oh. So there's like a movie run version of the story.
All these types of games have the did everybody live? Did everyone get the best outcome? Did it right? But it's hard because it's a death. Did you choose to shoot the guy instead of showing him Jesus? Dead, right? Perfect. Now, with that being said, man, this game is great. House of Ashes is a quantum leap forward over Little Hope. It's also like twice as long. It feels like it's way longer. It is more interesting. It is better produced. It has a much, much better hook.
Well, clearly Little Hope isn't the comparison point. It would be Until Dawn, right?
It is one half step back from Until Dawn.
Okay.
Until Dawn was worked on for like 5 years and went through 2 console generations and a ton of money, and it's still the gold standard, and it won't not be the gold standard for a long time. House of Ashes is your budget but still pretty great version of that game. Like, it goes Until Dawn, House of Ashes, and then let's say the first season of Walking Dead, and then power gap for everything else in that genre. Like,
Not you're,
you know,
you're just gonna shit on Game of Thrones like that.
Those games became so popular, and now that we're far away and can look back on them, most of them were not the best, man.
Borderlands was good. Borderlands was good.
I didn't play it.
That one was good.
That first season of Walking Dead was like, it's like the genre innovator that ruined the genre. Because everybody was just chasing to get back to that one really good one.
That one that happened that one time. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, House of Ashes is fantastic. In addition to that, I was contacted by a company whose name I'm pretty sure I'm constantly making the mistake. Because I no longer know whether or not it's Namco Bandai or Bandai Namco, because I think they changed it from one to the other at some point.
It might have gone under the rebrand.
The Gundam people, who happen to be working with From Software, and was given early access to the Elden Ring network test over the course of this weekend, which I spent a lot of time with and am completely under embargo for until a later date.
There you go.
So all I can tell you is that I spent a lot of time with it, and that I will be able to talk about my impressions in the near future.
You did it.
I didn't even have to suck anyone's dick. Fun fact, I had actually contacted the PR company that they were using, and was like, hey, we'll get back to you, and then got contacted by a different group of people in that same PR company apropos of nothing.
Oh, well, there you go.
So like I was like doing everything I can to like slime my way in, and they're like, oh, hey man, what's up? I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Just taking the knee pads off.
Yeah, I just don't need these.
I'll
sign that.
The sound of Velcro.
I'll sign that right now.
Sure thing.
That's pretty much been it for me this week.
All right. Well,
Woolie, if they want to check out more of your stuff, where would they go?
Over at Woolie Versus on Twitch and on YouTube. That's the place to go to see some more Reggie versus Dark Souls, to see some more Dokapon Kingdom, to see some more, the finale of Gone in 60 Seconds, which went out yesterday. So that's season 3 in the bag. To see, whatever other fighting games we've got coming down the pipeline. Which there's always more. There's always more. And, I gotta say, the return to Dong Dong was truly a special experience.
I saw that! I saw Reggie's eyes bug out of his fucking skull!
The return to Dong Dong and the just having...
The secret, the truth.
Yeah, the truth. Having Reggie achieve the truth was a special time. And I encourage you all to join us as we get into fighting games. Dong Dong Never Die. And there's also a 10th anniversary edition or some shit like that came out too. So please enjoy. Please enjoy the adventure. Fucking good shit.
All right. On my end, over at twitch.tv/PatStaresAt, my schedule's a bit of a mess this week. On Tuesday, I'm going to be playing Unmetal. I don't know if you've seen this, Woolie. It's a Metal Gear 1 tribute game.
I've heard that name.
Yeah. On Thursday, I'm going to be playing a new Mind Goblin game called Unsighted. Have you heard about this, Wolves?
Yes. Isn't that the game that people are saying best Metroidvania of the year? Possibly throwing a shade at Dread?
It looks real good. It's a perfect game for the Mind Goblin series because the core mechanic is that you're all cyborgs running off of batteries.
Mm-hmm. And
if your battery runs out, you become let's just say a hollow. You go nuts. And
sure.
But the clock is real. for you and every character in the game, including all shopkeepers, all quest givers, and all merchants or whatever.
High stress.
And you have to go and get these batteries and give it to them, or else they will burn out.
Oh boy.
But that applies to yourself as well. So it's a game that has a ticking clock on every single character at all times.
Yeah, okay, that's big. That's not just you though. That's goblins for everybody.
No, that's everybody.
That's universal goblins.
That's stressful on purpose.
Yeah. But I've seen multiple people saying this is like the best of this genre to come out recently. And like again, like in the face of an actual Metroid game.
The idea, as far as I could tell, is that as you beat the game and learn it, and learn shortcuts, learn sequence breaks, learn the best way to deal things, you are essentially gifting yourself more and more time on the clock because you're able to complete things more quickly.
Right.
So there is like it is a game built around, if you speed run this hard enough, no one has to die.
Okay.
Which is a cool idea. Also, apropos of nothing, on Wednesday at 7:00, and on Friday,
Weds.
Pardon?
Weds. You were doing the abbreviations for every day. Mon, Tus.
No, I wasn't. I was saying Monday and Tuesday. I'm throwing the shit. I'm doing it in a weird voice. Anyway, on the third day of the week, known as Wednesday, at 7:00, I will be doing a secret thing stream that I can't talk about right now for some reason. So if you want to come down to my show at twitch.tv/PatStaresAt on Wednesday to see a secret thing, you might want to go and take a look at that. And also on Friday at 5 p.m., I will also be doing a different stream about maybe a different or the same secret thing. It's a secret.
It's a secret.
I hold up my hands to my sides and tilt my head going, what could it be?
Whoop-a-doop, it's a secret.
So you might want to go take a look at the secret thing on Wednesday and Friday, just saying.
Cool. Alrighty. Orifice leaks.
Orifice?
You want to go leak some fluids?
Oh, I heard you say ORPHUS. And I'm like,
nah.
Is that a thing?
You want to go leak some fluids, bro?
I could leak a fluid or two.
All right. Fluid leak. Alrighty. Quick word from the sponsors. This week, the podcast is sponsored by Arcane, a Netflix original series about League of Legends.
Wait, is that League of Legends show that I seen with Jinx and Vi?
You saw it.
I didn't see it. No, I saw the trailer.
You saw, yeah.
I just found out about it yesterday, which is appropriate considering we're getting the word out ourselves.
Yeah, well, you know, they got the big shiny, the high budget quality like CG stuff going on.
It looks really nice.
It does look pretty fancy.
It looks real slick.
And I actually unironically I've had friends be like, "Yo, I don't know if you're interested, but you might take a look at this because it might sell you, you know, on the thing."
It's part of their master plan to get you, Woolie, playing League of Legends.
I mean, listen, you know, you start with a little bit of the KDA music videos, and then you get into the some of the Yasuo cool cutscenes, and you're like, yeah. Oh, anyway, Arcane is a 9-episode 3-part series. Follows the story of two young girls, Vi and Powder, born in the Undercity, beneath Piltover. Eagerness to prove themselves sets in motion a series of events that takes their relationship to the breaking point and transforms them forever. And she's got the big fist, so, you know, big punches.
There's a long sequence in the trailer in which they just show about 20 seconds of Vi shadowboxing, and it looks excellent.
I like the sound of that. Witness the animation event of the year. See the champions we know and love like never before. Vi, Jinx, Heimerdinger, Jace. Their stories all intertwine in this action-packed series. Whether you're a longtime League player or a brand new to Runeterra, Arcane serves as the perfect introduction to the vast world of League of Legends, focusing on the origins of some of the most iconic characters. How about that? You dive into the stories behind one of the most played games of all time. Discover the secrets of Piltover and its Undercity. Prepare for the epic battle that's only just beginning. Arcane is now streaming exclusively on Netflix. And yeah, no, for real, I saw this thing and I was like, that looks really shiny. that looks pretty dope.
The number one question that I had is, if I watch this, will I discover what the thematic lore reason is going to be behind Jinx being a discard card? Like a discard your hand
could there
hero
be lore
card? I don't know.
Lore implications? Well, we'll have to find out. Thanks, Arcane.
Why is everyone saying yes?
Damn. Actually, yes. Actually, yes. That's pretty funny. How about that?
Oh, all right.
Podcast also sponsored by Uncommon Goods. We've talked about Uncommon Goods. If you want to be a good gift giver, the secret sauce for that. I feel like I'm a pretty good gift giver. I feel like I nail it. I like to, tread that line between the needs and the wants and the unexpected. And Uncommon Goods is a good place for the right gifts for all your people in your life. You need stuff for your mom, your dad, your kids, whatever you're looking for. You can check them out. They've got unique and creative gifts, often handmade by independent artists and makers. And they've even got some gift guides to help you match the right thing to the right person. I've talked a bit recently about how, Dear Punchwife's plant murdering abilities have been safely negated due to the self-watering pots and plants that you can grow available through Uncommon Goods.
I changed the trash before the podcast, and I swear to God, it smells like dead plants in there. I think Paige killed another one as well.
There you go. There you go. You know, and so what we needed was a death-proof plant. And there's a couple of options to pick from, and they got a couple choices for self-watering, self-lighting even setups, where, you know, it keeps the light on the plant as it needs to for 16 hours a day, and then it keeps it watered so that you just, you know, no matter how much your murderous spouse might try, they cannot kill these plants, and that's what I found to be handy. So yeah, check them out. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/superbeast. That's uncommongoods.com/superbeast for 15% off. Don't miss out on the limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary. There, yeah, it's a slogan. There you go. Yeah. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to the nonprofit partner of your choice. So, there you go. Thanks, Uncommon Goods.
Thanks, Uncommon Goods.
A little less murder in my house.
Slightly less.
I like
right
it.
up until the end of Dokapon Journey.
Well. And lastly, the podcast this week is brought to you by Away, the thoughtfully designed suitcases, bags, and other travel things you need that I've talked about. Best damn suitcase I've ever traveled with. Awesome colors, different shapes and sizes, 360 spinner wheels, compression pads, can pack in more than you'll ever need, laundry bags to keep your things tidy. Bunch of people tell you Away they're thinking about travel all the time, and I know I had to think about travel, and a lot of people are thinking about travel, you know, and when that can happen again, and whenever it can, and whenever you're safe to do so. You're going to want to have some great luggage, some great suitcases, and this is the best damn suitcase I've ever used. So we're all thinking about it. Possibly consider giving the gift of travel with an Away suitcase. I mean, it's not even there, but I'll tell you right now, this right here, this is audio listeners, I'm holding up a battery. This is an Away travel battery, and
Man, you love that Away travel battery.
Every day, you know, when the phone's dying, just put it in the pocket, get some juice going. It's honestly, it was the most pleasant surprise. I love it. And you got a full range of all kinds of things that'll help you with you know, all that travel fuss and muss and stuff, and airport shenanigans. So you can explore the full range of Away's all things travel, and start a 100-day trial by going to awaytravel.com/beast. That's awaytravel.com/beast. Give the gift that's on everyone's mind. And yeah, again, best damn suitcase. Thank you, Away.
Thanks, Away.
All right. Into the news.
Did anything happen this week?
You could say so. I'd say 19 minutes of thing happened
19 minutes of thing?
19 minutes.
You're obviously talking about Yoshi P apologizing to the player base, right?
For 19 minutes straight.
Yeah, actually, for real.
Dogeza. What happened?
Oh, you don't know? It's not part of the news?
There's the I was actually going to talk about the 19 minutes of Elden Ring. But
oh, you mean the footage that I'm watching right now?
That's correct.
I just got to the part where they used I don't know what to call them, a horsey jumper, like the wind thing to make the horse jump go high.
Sonic bounce pads. So I can see, based on the news, that I can see that a lot of FF14 announcements have been dropped in the recent days.
Yeah, like literally the past couple days.
So would this be the fact that Endwalker has been delayed to early December?
Yeah, so they started up the last live letter before the expansion drop, and Yoshi P very much was like awkward, and then he tried not to like cry as he basically explained that they will absolutely 100% have to delay the game 2 weeks because they gave a pretty explicit reason, and it was because they had spent so much time just putting one more thing to make it just perfect that QA got back to them, and they're like, there is absolutely no way we're going to have the time to hit all this stuff, fix all this stuff, and get server stability under control for the launch date. So it's being pushed back 2 weeks.
Now, I don't know a whole lot about anything, but from my ignorant perspective, the fact that he was close to or possibly did cry while announcing this sounds like an overreaction to something that is ultimately probably not that big of a deal if a 2-week delay has to happen.
This is something that requires slightly more context.
Please,
right?
Please.
There's one big piece of information that you need to know to put this into context, which is 2 weeks is not enough time to tell your boss you need to change the week you took off from work.
Oh, oh my God. It's about that level of dedication.
Woolie, these things come out once every 2 years.
Got it.
And
got
everybody takes the week off of work so that they can just crush it.
Oh my God.
And now,
Jesus Christ,
tons and tons and like literally millions of people are going to be sitting at home with a week off of nothing, and then having to go to work during the launch week.
And I'm going to guess that because he is someone who actually plays and does it at a high level, he understands exactly what that experience
100%.
is like more than someone who might not be in the trenches, so to speak.
Absolutely. Also, Yoshi P has never delayed a game.
Okay. And
they're delaying it. They're delaying it by 2 weeks. 2 weeks from the release.
Okay.
Like it is the only shade I will drop on Yoshi P and the team. This is too late to announce a delay.
Well, I push back and I say that compliance doesn't have a fucking like time limit.
So it's not compliance. It's the fact that the player base has increased by over 30% in the past couple months.
And they don't have the structure for it?
Well, they've been working on it, but like this type of stuff was not in the plans. That's why they delayed the server crunch for you know the data center stuff. Okay. And they went too far in terms of like, well, if we have one more day, we can put this thing in, or we can tweak this cutscene. And then QA gets back to them and goes, dude, there is not enough time. There is just not enough time to get this stuff ready to go. Okay. And the reason I say that is because Shadowbringers is a good example. Shadowbringers came out and was actively being DDoSed for the entirety of its launch day. And aside from 1 hour in which I lost my connection twice, there was no issue. It is the only MMO that ever launches and you can actually play the game the day it comes out.
Okay, I have a very important question here. How was the community response to his live letter?
They thought that it was two things. One, oh no, my time off. And then was followed by, not separately, but like followed by, oh man, he's being too hard on himself. Like we can all understand that the team is doing their best and
Jesus
they're trying to really just make the best game, and they don't want to keep the release date and have the game crash on everybody on release date.
Okay, good. Good. Because, like, the 2 weeks out thing and the time off thing definitely are, like, that sucks. I can see that one-to-one. The part of it where it's like, I had a perfect track record and then a mistake happened and now here we are and it's not a perfect record anymore. That's that you can't hold yourself to that standard. Delays are normal and you cannot have an unhealthy reaction to, like, finally making a mistake when it's an industry where this kind of thing happens and it's normal, you know?
Yeah,
so
the dude's a
don't wanna
perfectionist
have people-
micromanager, and he
Right.
somehow managed to hit those deadlines every time his whole career. So I can understand the frustration.
So the world doesn't need to, like, weigh in harder on what he's probably putting on his own plate, for sure. But,
While he's also the head of the FF16 project, I might add.
fuck. Yeah, okay. So that, like, I'm glad that people have been understanding about that, because
Yeah,
this sounds like
absolutely.
somebody who will flagellate over these types of situations.
On the plus side, legitimately, this has unironically, for many individuals, saved Christmas.
Okay.
Because the scheduling of FF14's expansions is such that expansion drops, and then 2 weeks later, they give you the new currency that you can earn, because they don't want to unlock that at the start, because then people will feel the need to rush their way through. Right? So it's like multiple weeks before you can earn an end game currency. And then 2 weeks after that, they put out the first raids, because they, again, don't want people to have to rush. The original timing of the release of the Savage Raid, and thus the world first race, was going to be Christmas Eve.
Okay. Okay.
Which meant people were going to be world firsting it, like, straight through Christmas.
Fuck the family, we're doing it. Yeah, okay. Now, you said that this has the problem was that they grew 30%.
35% since July of the. So there's a survey group called Lucky Bancho that does, like, they dig onto servers and they search characters and they figure out the numbers. There's two types of player counts in 14. There's people that are logging in at least once a week that are at level cap, and then there is the total amount of players. The total amount is the one you always see. 24 million people. That includes level 1 alts.
Yeah, okay.
That's like
okay.
that's 21 million registered service accounts that are not necessarily being played right now.
Well, fortunately, that increase means that there's a higher percentage chance that the salaryman who took that week off will then get to go talk to a boss who super understands, because he too took the week off, and they're both fucked, and they go, all right, let's move it forward, no problem.
The increase, the 35% increase since July, is not in the total number. It's of people at level cap logging in once a week.
Okay.
So, like, the quote unquote real player base has actually grown by 1/3 in the past couple months, which is fucking huge for a game that's running a service like this.
No, it's like
the most wholesome thing that I've seen out of this is you go to the 14 Reddit and there's people that are, like, asking to move doctor's appointments, and their doctors are like, yeah, no problem, dude.
Yeah.
You got delayed, huh? This sucks.
I know, exactly. That's what I'm saying, right? Like, you have a time limit to get your boss in on your raids with you, and then they too will be like, nah, it's all good. Everyone, early break. Shut the office down for a week. We get it. You got to talk to those clients. You'll figure it out.
The other piece of news that they put out, it was a live letter. They talk a lot about all sorts of stuff. But the one that would actually be interesting for people who don't play the game to talk about is what they are doing with that game's PvP. And that is, they are gutting it. So Final Fantasy XIV has player versus player stuff. It's got one called The Feast, which is, I think it's 4v4, but it doesn't matter. It's not good. Let's start right there. It's not good.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone like a PvP system in any MMO ever. It's always
WoW
I've always heard
had
complaints
some
about it.
times where people liked it, and there were some
Even
others,
Warframe, which is generally
no,
liked.
Warframe's PvP is like the actual worst ever.
Okay,
But-
but this is what I just mean. I keep hearing how bad these things are all the time.
Right. So, step 1, FF14's PvP is not that good. Step 2, the Feast is the primo PvP that is the only one that actually has rewards anyone would actually want. Right? Step 3, Feast runs on seasons. And the seasons are usually 1 or 2 patches long. So, I think the last season of the Feast was season 19, which gives you an example of like how many of them there have been. Number 4, the top 100 ranked players on each server are the only ones that get the rewards that everyone wants.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ. That's insane. Why?
And the armor is, I shit you not, universally the best looking stuff in the entire game. The mounts are some of the best in the entire game.
Okay, no. Hold on a second. That's not rarity. That's like non-existent when you're talking about millions.
A server that has
and millions of people,
to 5,000 people on it.
That's non-existent rarity. Like,
right, but now we get to point 6. It's not limited by service account, which means you and your 5 alts, if you bought and win trade hard enough, can get 5 spots of that 100 per server.
So multiple people are also bullshitting it.
So for 19 seasons, the only people who have received any of these super good ass rewards are people who go hard on it. And I mean, like, I can't raid, I can't finish the story, I can't do the patch content. I need to go hard on this. I know one guy who has it legit. It's a guy who comes to my streams and I see him on my server. His name's Chichen. That guy went hard.
You know, when
everyone else cheats their way through win trading, bots, etc.
When I heard about like MMOs hiring economists to sit down and help them figure out how to do things, like, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. And like, it's gone from a like, oh, that's a novel idea that makes sense to like, no. Like, everything involving the like reward system for this larger group of people in a shared space and like rarity numbers and like things like this, like, no matter what you do, people will find a way to abuse it. That's number one. It'll always happen. You have to anticipate that and find ways to either disincentivize it, punish it, or you know, make it airtight in the way it rewards people. And the more you talk about these things in MMOs, the more it's like the emergent cancers of the system
behavior
are like from day one. They're just a growth that's encroaching. And like, when you introduce systems like that, it feels like I understand the balance between being like ridiculously anti-player and being like incentive driven, like rarity, good, play more, get the thing, get the yay. But like, there has to be a percentage point where it's like 0.001% of players have this equipment where that serves no beneficial function. There has to be a number.
So I sent you a photo of last season's Feast armor in the Discord tab. And I mean this as somebody who's played this game for 7 years. That's probably the best looking piece of tank armor in the game. It even has a special wind effect completely unique to it.
Shadow Cleaver's attire.
It also, I don't know how they did it. It also appears to be like legitimately like a higher fidelity and higher texture quality than other gear. I've seen one human being with it ever. It was the guy I mentioned earlier. So Feast has had a situation where people who get this shit will threaten to cut you if changes are made to the format because they managed to get it, and they'll be goddamned if you'll repay your student. Get your get your feast armor without having to go super hard on it.
I don't care. I don't care. Like, you put something out, there's a time frame expected. Show what you expect that to be. Show what you expect people to to legitimately do to get the thing. And when it results in everyone that gets it is just a criminal, you have to change the system.
Or a psychopath.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
Right.
Too bad.
So, today they announced we're gonna do a new small scale PvP, and people are like, And then they announced, we're also getting rid of Feast entirely. And people are like, okay.
Okay.
And then the next announcement is that rewards will no longer be based exclusively on season. And people are like, okay.
Okay.
And then they go, okay, you'll have what is essentially a battle pass, but it'll be free forever.
Okay.
Across the entire future of the game. And you can use the tokens you get from it to buy whatever you want.
Hey.
And the first rewards coming are the old Feast
exclusive armors. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's how you fix a fucking problem.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are mad. And by a lot, I mean literally maybe 500.
Because a lot of money was spent. Now, here's the other thing, is you're telling me it took 19 seasons to fucking crack down on this and fix it?
It's the kind of thing where they made the mistake when they announced Feast. When they announced it, they said, you'll be able to get exclusive rewards for getting the top 100. And here's the problem. Then they said, and you'll never be able to get it anywhere else. So every time a discussion ever came up, people who had earned the last season's stuff went, I only worked hard because you told me that this would be the only way I could ever get it, and it's an MMO, and it's an exclusive status symbol, and I would not have busted my ass playing PvP that much during that season if it wasn't exclusive, yada, yada, yada. And eventually, that just became, like,
God.
Who cares?
And that was this week's Woolie's eyes bug out at MMO practices.
Oh,
like being explained.
No.
Jesus Christ.
That's not
When
this
does
week's.
it stop?
That's the first of this week's. Because the other thing that they talked about during that live letter is that they are finally instituting a lottery system for the housing market so that they can cut down on landlording and price gouging in the digital house market.
It's a government. It's a government. You have a cabinet of game developers that have to create a system that your citizens are happy with.
In FF14 right now, you know how you get a house? You want to guess how you get a house?
Join a guild.
Money. No, you have enough money on your character, and your character doesn't own a house already, and you run up to an empty plot, and you go, I would like to buy this house, and you buy it.
Okay, but it's an instance. It's not actually game space.
It's a limited instance.
But you're not denying actual real estate in-game world when you purchase something.
Yes, you are.
Why? Wasn't that the problem with EverQuest? Or what do you like? Didn't you learn the lesson that limited actual real estate is the problem and make everything an instance to not have this issue?
So here's how it works. Here's how it works, Woolie. The housing servers are an instance, but there's only so many of them. I think right now there's 24 times 3 wards. I might be wrong, but the point is there's only X amount of houses, and there's, let's say, 24 million potential people that would want a house in-game. So, what happens when a new housing market goes up? Like when the expansion, they had the Shirogane Asian housing awards go up, right? What did you have to do? Well, me and everyone in my FC had to spread around the guild money so that everyone was sitting on 50 million in their character's account. Then you had to wake up early when the server went live and rush to get to the plot we've all pre-selected
and rig the bid.
Right. You got there before somebody else.
And rig the bid as a group so that it goes to one of you no matter what.
If people don't log in for long enough periods of time, their houses will get demolished to open it back up, which leads to situations where your neighborhood will have a permanent squat settlement of people who never log out. Because the instant they see the house disappear, they will have 10 frames to mash the A button to buy it before the 50 people next to them also buy it.
What's the time limit from being the house being empty?
It's a couple months.
Okay.
And it's there's no way to tell when that timer will pop. So all you do is go, hey, nobody. This house is slated for demolition. You know that, but the date and time, who knows? So you. And if anyone is
standing inside of it, the timer is locked.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's where all of that would be fine if not. And you can go get an old Kotaku article about this where they interviewed somebody where there are players who all they want to do is play house. The MMO is a side thing. I believe it's on. There's I want to say it's on Zalera, which is a lower population server, in which two gentlemen went there, made so much gil and so many alts that they bought up entire wards of houses. And I'm talking like 50 plus houses. So that entire neighborhoods were owned by single service accounts so they could build their perfect neighborhood. Now, this server in question is a lower population server that some people move to explicitly so that they have a better shot at getting housing, only to find, oh no, there's literal digital slumlords here that will never sell. They rotate their accounts so it never happens. And this has been the state. The change to the housing system is as follows. 1, it's a lottery. The houses go on sale. Everybody says, I have the money right now. I will buy it. Keep with me. I will buy it when it releases and it lotterizes. Number two, wait. Only one house per service account. No more can one person with 30 alts get a whole neighborhood. They get one. If they want a second one, they have to buy another sub.
Okay.
Number 3, you have to be a certain level to do it. You need to there's a bunch of conditions that I'm not going to go.
You have to be a real person.
You have to be a player character.
Yeah. You have to be a real person.
You cannot just fire off a level 1 alt and fill them with money.
Okay.
And send them off.
Okay.
And number whatever, in addition to all of this expansion in the 0.1 patch will be having some kind of island resort like instance, which is going to basically be like a Harvest Moon style single player instance for a house that is yours.
Okay. Animal Crossing is your
Animal
analogy.
Crossing, Harvest Moon.
Yes.
But it'll be just for you.
Yes.
But you'll have it. And
yes.
all this other housing shit is for, you're in a community or there's a public house.
But can people visit your personal house?
Unknown as of right now.
Because all of this and even the improvements to the system, I'm like, stop, right? Because if you tell me like, hey, we put some sprinkles on this plate of shit, I'm like, I don't, but why are you serving me a plate of shit? Like, what is the benefit to making limited physical real estate in the MMO? Is it technical server space reasons?
Yes, that's one of the reasons. So the housing servers there are more housing servers than game servers because of how much resources it takes up. Because you need to accommodate, you have to run, the game instance, and on top of that, you also have to run in every one of tens of thousands of combinations of housing items and decorations, both in and outside the houses, while simultaneously allowing huge player amounts to coexist in those spaces simultaneously.
Okay.
Like, it is a very serious resource intensive thing.
So simply allowing, simply creating 100% of houses to be all instances, and having people join your instance and do all the shit that you do or whatever, is not a thing that the resources can handle.
No, I think that's going to be the solution, because I bet when we go to this Harvest Moon Island or whatever, you're not going to be able to decorate your house. I bet that's the solution, that they will not have to run, a million backups of server space so you make sure you don't lose your goddamn items. Also, here are the two solutions they've tried in the past. They made apartments where you can get a single room apartment in a housing ward.
Oh yeah, okay.
But you can't decorate the outside of your apartment.
Oh, and who's the landlord? Who'd you have to?
The game.
Yeah. Okay.
You buy them though. It's more like a condo.
Cool. Nice. Yeah.
They're also limited. And the second one, which is, I think it was the moment that when this blew up in their face, was when the decision was made to make a new type of instance housing. At some point, I think it was a year ago, maybe it was a little bit before, they doubled the amount of available houses. They said, listen, there's 165,000 total houses available. We're going to double it to almost 300,000. And that shit was gone by end of day. And all the problems stayed.
Burn it down. Burn the whole thing down. No houses for anyone. No one lives anywhere. Destroy it.
They've added
it all.
They've added so many features in regards to the housing system, and I have friends that if you took out this thing, they would lose one of their biggest desires to play the game. A good friend of mine, Creepy Porpoise, like half of her game time is decorating the guild house. And guess what? It looks incredible.
I'm sure it does. And I'm sure, yes, there are entire social communities for role playing that entirely are all about that. This system of that is horrendous, dude. That is so garbage sounding. I'm thinking of the fucking, I don't know, I played Monster Hunter World, and you get your little room. You want to put fish in your little tank or whatever, go dress up. Sure, okay. The limited actual real estate, real world problems coming to MMOs, I fucking hate everything about that.
So here's the thing.
Dear God, important. That's awful.
Our friend of the show, Doc Burford, recently wrote a great article on NFTs. And in it, he uses an example of Destiny, which uses an example of World of Warcraft, where Luke Smith talks about how he got to be the Scarab Lord on his server, and how great that felt, and how exclusive that felt, that he was the person who opened up the gates back in 2007 or whatever it was back in World of Warcraft, and how that was incredible. And part of Destiny's design followed that. There's a problem, and it's been a problem endemic to the MMO space. When you create rewards that are exclusive for a percentage of your population, those people are going to feel great. And everyone else is going to feel like shit because they're never going to get it. And that's not why a lot of people play games. In order to create a feeling of exclusivity, you necessarily need to create the feeling of want. Both of the system changes that I've talked to you today about FF14 going forward are stabbing that idea in the chest.
Yeah.
One is, they're finally going, this is stupid.
But to begin with, I didn't even know that existed.
You should be able to go get it. Well,
like,
no, because you don't play the game. How would you?
Yeah, no. I know, but what I'm saying is like, and I'm just like, what I constantly like crashing into at like full speed on the fucking Autobahn mentally with this is just the idea that you buy a game and then you can do the things that are in the game. And every week there's a new version of thanks for buying or renting the game for a month. There's a million things you're not allowed to do in the game that you've purchased. And I'm just like, but I bought the game. And
well, Woolie,
I'm willing to spend the time. If I have to earn it, that's one thing. But this is not even
literally describing the beginning of the conversation that leads, and that's why it's okay for me to go on a Party Finder and buy raids because I deserve that goddamn ultimate axe.
And that is exactly
6 days a week.
And that is why I was about to, and that's why I stopped, because that's why it's like one of the stupidest takes ever of like, that's like, no, I'm allowed to go like buy my raids or whatever. No. If you can do that, if you can access it by playing the fucking game to get the thing we're talking about, that's one thing. But you're describing a system of like, even with that time and effort, go fuck yourself. No, you're not on the leaderboard. You're not in the top 100 out of thousands.
I'm going to raise my hands here. The housing thing and the feast thing came from different places. The housing thing is literally our servers can only handle the X amount of houses because it's resource intensive. That at least makes sense to start, right?
There's a cost reasoning.
The feast shit from day one was like, dude, only the biggest badasses are going to have this shit.
Guess you don't want it bad enough.
Are you as big of a badass to use 7 bot accounts and win trade with a cabal of dudes on Discord?
Okay, so from the bottom level, right? From on one step.
Before you go on to that, I want to hold up my hand. Triple Triad has tournaments in Final Fantasy XIV that are automated. There is no cool ass big reward for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think all you get is a title.
Mm-hmm.
Triple Triad tournaments for a long time were 100% rigged for years.
And there's no reward.
Like there you'd get like some MGP, which is like gold saucer points or whatever, and I think you could get a title, but there was no mount associated with it.
There's nothing
right?
flashy.
And they were rigged
still
for years.
It's a real government. It's a real economy. It's a real social system that goes through all the strain, stress, and pains, of everything.
Yeah.
On a large level, the housing system goes to shit. On a large level, some asshole will jump the line in front of you at the grocery store and then be like, fuck you, too bad. Like, people will be shit on every micro level of this system.
There's another one. I forgot. There was they wanted to do like a raid kind of thing, but for people who do crafting and gathering, right? So they had something called restoration, which is basically you're rebuilding part of the game that got destroyed in a war, right? And so, you got to give material. And that thing had seasons. And the top 10 people of each crafting job per server per season would get a unique title. And in order to get the title Hand of Creation, you had to place top 10 on all crafting and gathering jobs on the final season.
Should have been top 5. 10's too many.
No, here's the part where it was the most toxic. Because you could see other people's point rankings. So you would be like crafting for 10 hours and cash it all in. And you would literally see, oh, dude, I went from number 3 to number 2. And then you'd log in tomorrow and you've been kicked down to number 11.
So you see the race. You see it.
Yeah. And so my buddy, Vel, has the Hand of Creation title. Why? Because he got to work from home during the pandemic, and he's a fiend.
Yeah. Okay, so you get that, right? And you get the house, and you get this, Shadow Cleaver attire, and you get the little icon that you said that you get for clearing that that old bird gang thing. And then you do what Min did, and you clear ultimate. You clear Uwu.
Yeah, you clear
right?
ultimate. You clear Uwu, and you get your Uwu sword.
What does it look like when Big Cockmaster Giant Dick G logs in and has every possible flex that like 10 other people have in the entire game? Like what does it even look like?
I have a friend who looks like this, so I can tell you. You can't equip all of them simultaneously.
Of course you can't.
Like I said, my
why
pal
would you
Vel,
be able to stunt that hard?
My pal Vel, aka Cool Lightning, has multiple glam plates, and he's walking around with he's walking for people who play the game, they would get this. He's either walking around with the Hand of Creation title, or the World Class Troller title, or the Honest Gillionaire title, and he's riding on that fucking pterodactyl you get from Restoration, or he's walking around on the Kerberos from DR Savage, or he's strolling around on whatever the fucking latest raid mount is, and he's got alternatively the Uwu, the T, or it's Uwu T and the other one weapon on his back, glowing like other people's weapons aren't allowed to glow. Ukab, right? The Ukab one. And what does he look like? He looks like a Lalafell dressed in a Starbucks uniform. Because at a certain point, like on the achievement scale, you just start to wear like mean garbage. Because and do the people part like the Red Seas? Like is there even like at a certain point, I talked about this when I saw my old roommate like going ham with the fucking super shiny badass glowing armor in WoW, and I was like, but the whole screen is that. Yeah, so and I just don't get it. I will tell you how it happens. Okay? You're in the housing ward and you see a guy crafting, and then the guy stands up and he's some shithead wearing dumb bullshit, and you see, oh, that's a really rare title, and then they switch to their battle class and you see, like, let's say the T weapon, and you go, wow, that's a really nice dancer chakram. Hey, let me just look up how to actually get that. And you look up a T guide and you find a Google Doc that's 38 pages long with a 2-hour-long video guide, and you go, I'm not fucking doing that. That's how it goes.
And that's how it goes. And somewhere that player feels that moment where you go, oh my god, what the fuck? And they go, yeah. And they get a little right in the chest.
Dude, not even. Like, my pal does all that. All of it. Every relic weapon, every raid, every item, all the titles he would want. And Endwalker's coming. He's like, I don't know what to do in the game. Oh, I know what I'll do. And this is only really going to hit people who play the game. I'm going to go ahead and catch every single big fish in the game. And he did it!
Yeah.
There's nothing left!
Yeah. See, but once he catches every big fish in the game, can other people still catch fish on their own accounts?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Then we're good! Catch all the fish you want. But if he emptied the ocean so that no one could ever catch a fish, that would be a very different discussion. And that I would have a problem with.
Well, that's and that's when you get in to running the market board. See, when you run the market board in FF14, say you put 5 items up at 1 million gil, and some motherfucker undercuts you at 900,000. So you undercut him at 850. So he undercuts you at 700,000. So then you undercut him, and you undercut him, and you undercut him, and you get down to 300,000. Then you buy his item and put them all back up at 1 million.
Oh man, yeah. No, it really is just it's real life. Everything that can go wrong in real life eventually can get duplicated in this type of environment. God bless. And here's the thing, some of this stuff, like if we were talking about EVE Online and the heists that go down in that, I'm like, it's practically encouraged in the system with how open and crazy that is, right? So that's fair game because holy shit, that's the point in a way. But to me, this is still it's an RPG. It's a game where you're going and you're doing raids and you're beating bosses and you're getting stronger and then you're casting spells or getting weapons and teaming up with your friends. So all the other shit is just around that core idea, as opposed to the EVE Online, like this is duplicitous by nature design.
Woolie, I joined a Discord server purely because it has a robot in it that I can type something like !market space light the golden whisker, and the Kupo bot will give me the current price of that item per server as well as its historical average price on various quality levels, which apparently it's going cheap at 1.7 million on Odin. If you want to get that fucking minion cheap, go to Odin right now.
And would you pay the $30 to migrate over to Odin to get it and then migrate back?
No, you can just travel between data centers now. Servers now.
Oh, I thought it was a $30 migration.
If you want to move your character permanently. But if you want to visit...
If you want to visit. Got it. Okay.
And here's the thing, Woolie. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
When they made the ability to visit other servers, and buy from other servers, it represented an economic catastrophe.
Because now we're in the international market.
Because all of a sudden, you're not just dealing with those 2 guys who keep undercutting you on raid weapons. Now you're dealing with the community. And turns out, different servers have different amounts of insane people.
Yeah. You opened up the Silk Road.
Ultros has a bizarrely high amount of supercrafters. I don't know why. But you know what doesn't? Leviathan.
Okay. So... hold on. So what is to stop me from visiting a server that's not my home server every single time I play?
0.
So what's the point of migrating permanently?
You can't own a house on a server you don't live on. And there's a good deal of social features that don't work.
It comes back to the same shit
every time. No, hold on. There are social services that don't work. You cannot join a party normally on a server you don't actually live on.
Okay.
You can't join a free company on a server you don't live on. Stuff like that.
My cell phone doesn't work with these towers. It's not on the same cell system.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, all right. My SIM card doesn't know. All right. Okay. Well, you know what? Those are some
sweating talking about it. I am like drenched in sweat right now.
This shit is so fucking whack. Those are some good fixes. I'm glad to hear they're improving the game.
It's gonna be 2 weeks late, but I'm sure it'll be fun. They'd also put out a launch trailer, which, contrary to every launch trailer they've ever put out, did not really have that many spoilers in it. Kind of shocking, actually.
Well, this is like one of the big finales of this arc, right? Like,
yeah.
Can't spoil shit.
But like the Heavensward launch trailer has the post-credit scene in it.
Okay.
Like they have gone bananas with this shit in the past.
So that 19-minute trailer then.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, well that's not.
All right,
the
you want
one
to talk about that 19 minutes of Elden Ring footage they put out?
Yeah, that's not the 19 minutes I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the other 19 minutes.
So the 19 minutes of Elden Ring footage they put out is like pretty obviously the same shit they showed to people like 7 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like forever ago that they've been like holding.
Some people had their eyes on
close.
that for a while, in which case then I guess that would mean this is not exactly recent footage.
No, it would mean it's quite old footage, actually.
Bruh.
That being said, there's a lot that you can glean from it. I looked at this footage real careful with my soul's eye when it dropped, and I talked to a lot of people who are obsessed with these games. Do you remember the conversation we had when the Death remake was coming out and how immaculate it looked and how incredible it looked? And we brought up the idea, it looks so good, and Bluepoint made it look so nice. What if Elden Ring doesn't look as good as the Death remake?
Yeah.
Well, the footage is out, and guess what? It doesn't.
That being said, like, so there's a thing, though. You have to look at, there's art design, and then there's technical.
Well, here's the thing. The art, the people who made the art in both is the same. It's the same source. It's the From Software Souls artists. But the difference here is pretty obvious. Demon Souls is a bunch of discrete loading levels. In the Elden Ring footage that we see, a gentleman gets up on a horsey and just rides in a direction for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, and overlooks like a big vista. Yeah, a game that has that structure is never going to look like the Death remake. Never.
Now, but just going into, like, again, the difference between technical versus, like, the art-wise, those fucking Erd trees are gorgeous. That's some real cool shit happening.
Real pretty and gold
in the distance whenever you're running around, and like it's fun to look at. That's a pretty.
And also, to be very fair to Elden Ring, Elden Ring's coming out on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One.
Yes, it
like
is.
It's
last
not
gen
a PS5
and
exclusive.
No,
or anything
it is
like
not.
that.
Whereas Death's remake was absolutely 5 exclusive, so for sure. Also, that probably going to mean no fun DualSense stuff going on. You know, as more of an afterthought.
They'll probably use regular ass vibration.
Because that bow and arrow stuff was really cool in the Death remake. You know, with the
I turned it off.
Yeah. Well.
Because it would stop me from firing arrows every now and then.
Like I said, I got used to that, but
the stuff where you feel it in the base of the controller, I love on every game that has it. But all the trigger stuff, I turn off immediately. I cannot stand it.
I mean, it sounded like I said, it sounded like awful to me on paper, and then in Returnal, I was like, oh my god, that actually works. You know. So yeah, you got that 19-minute thing. One thing that I see that I'm really curious about, because it was also in the one of the first looks at it, is like how many overworld, oh fuck, I walked into the wrong area, now I'm fighting a boss spots are we looking at, you know? Like the idea of like you just hit this watery area and now a life bar appears is like, damn, that's gonna keep me on my toes in a way that is not quite like Breath of the Wild per se, but it seems like if there's a bunch of that shit happening constantly, that's crazy. It's scary and exciting, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's no way to accurately answer that question without playing it for yourself. But my gut reaction after playing the older Souls games is that every Souls game has been getting more obsessed with not letting you know you're walking into a boss fight.
Yeah.
So Bloodborne was the start of you're not showing up and walking through a fog door. You're walking into a room and then a boss drops at you, and then you turn around and there's a fog door behind you, and you're like, God damn it, fucking shit.
Yeah, I mean, the Pursuer was like one of the first times it was like, oh, whoa, what? You know, where's the fog door? Where's the indicator? What's going on here?
I can only imagine that having like in the footage you see a dragon come from like beyond the edge of the horizon, like they're a dot.
And just crashes down,
just crash in. That's got to be the new form of that, which is like there would be no way to tell that was going to happen unless you already knew it was there.
Get fucking ambushed, yeah. And then of course the other idea being like, is it this like a invisible arena threshold, or is it a like, if you're in this province, you might run into some problems, you know? Type of thing. So there's a couple ways.
Well, all the footage they have of fighting that dragon is pretty much in that same spot in the water. So I'm going to assume that the dragon just doesn't leave.
Sure. You got that. It seems like you're gonna seamlessly summon and jump off of your horse like constantly, and that's cool. Whatever magic lore reasons there are for that, because you know, horse is a cool feeling when you're riding in the plains, but it can also be cumbersome in small spaces. And
it's a weird looking horse. We saw that in the first trailer, but like this footage, you get a better look at it. It's like a goat.
But there's a thing where they clearly went like, what are the fun parts of horsing? And then what are the unfun parts? And all the unfun parts, they just like, yeah, it goes away now. You know, bring it out when you want it, and then don't when you don't. Now super jump off of this sonic spring and get a nice big like sweeping Sekiro, woo, you know, and land. So you got to see some of that. We got to see, and the boss fights they showed you. They're not going to show you the whole fight, but they give you like, you know, a fade in to like the start of it, and then a fade out. Mr. Big Axe Man, multi-hand dude, shit like that looked pretty dope. Yeah, I know that the point of making these things cinematic is to not have like a HUD so that it feels like more immersive, but I would love to see that stuff and like item switching if it's happening. I'd like to see life bars and stamina, you know.
I mean, for a promotional video like this, you can absolutely understand pulling the HUD all the way off because it looks so much prettier.
Yeah, for sure. I do. I totally get it. And alongside some of this, they showed off, or they announced at least the 5 classes that are going to be available for the network test. And this is kind of interesting because it's less classes than you had in previous Souls games, direct comparison.
But it's not less classes that you've had in previous industry demos of Dark Souls games.
Okay.
So the Dark Souls 1 demo had like, I think 8, and like one of them was like Black Knight, and it was a guy in full set of armor. And they tend to be, for the demo reasons or test reasons or whatever, they tend to be more built up in terms of equipment than your actual real starting classes.
Okay. They're giving you, interesting. I'm looking at like the fact that there is clearly a like, here is a intentional spell sword, and I thought that's pretty sick. I mean, like the
I can't think of many of the series that ever included anything like that.
No, and it's super interesting because what the fuck is it called? The Bloody Wolf looks like the coolest, like Artorias armor wearing badasses.
Bloody Wolf looks like the character they would put on the box.
Exactly, right? Why would you?
The Elite Knight set or Farum set of armor that.
Why would you not want to be this cool guy, right? But the fact that you see the what is it? The Enchanted Knight, where it's like, no, sword in one hand, staff in the other. We're encouraging this actual spell sword thing.
Oh, here you go, Mr. Madden. Here's the build that you wanted to start as in every game you've ever played in this series. Here you go.
Not just me. This is what Reggie is trying to do constantly. And I have to be like, okay, well, make sure you pick and choose how you want to do this. Be careful. You might not get exactly what you want here. But, yeah, and so like it's like, okay, but the idea of casting and swinging and doing stuff and at sacrifice of a shield sounds super dope. And here you see that, and you see like not just like here's a homing soul arrow or some shit. You see a fucking Shinku Hadouken at one point get blasted out in the trailer.
That is a spell that already exists in 3.
Okay,
that beam,
the beam.
Yeah, that thing already exists.
Yeah. You get, what do you get? You get, also, the weirdness is back. They take a minute to show you Alexander, the pot man, beat his ass and get him unstuck. And these are the types of NPCs you're going to hang out with.
This is not Dark Souls, but they're obviously, these devs love certain types of archetypes. So I seriously doubt we're going to see Sigurd or any Onion Bros. But yeah, what if there was a dude that was like a big dum-dum, but he was like round, and he talked to you and went ho 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 ho, right? Like
weird creature shit. And then and this is like, I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine like once you just get used to it, but like the fact that this map is the size it is, and then there's a map to look at that's actually helpful, and it lets you put down a godlight to go to a actual like that's so much more forgiving navigationally than other Souls games would be, but this is just a bigger world. So I guess it's like, yeah, no, you can have that map. It's okay. You're still not gonna know what's around that corner in that dark fucking shitty mansion or whatever.
And to be fair, the map is hand drawn, so it's not like it's not necessarily going to be 100% accurate, detailed screenshot map, right?
But
it's an artistic rendition of the space,
right? But it's not a map telling you where every street corner is in the town you're jumping through, or what floors are on what of this castle.
Yeah,
it's just a dot that says this is that town. I'm wondering as well, because we still did see like there's like a fog door that you walk towards at the end, and then you go and you fight whatever big dude. And I'm wondering if like every boss fight is going to be designed for horse or non-horse, because it seems as if like you're fighting that dragon on the horse because you're already on your horse. Fuck you. You're walking in to a fog gate to fight this big guy, and you're going to fight it in a more traditional Souls kind of way. But since you can pull your horse out wherever, like in theory, could you just do that and, sacrifice speed for extra moves and abilities? If you have two approaches to these bosses, that could be fun.
I'm looking at I'm looking at the footage. I'm at the 14-ish minute mark, and the person's walking through an area that looks suspiciously like Demon Souls' 1-1, like the interior of the wall.
Yeah.
I cannot possibly imagine, there must be some kind of distinction between like
being able to use a horse there
and the inner world, basically.
Right.
Where it becomes a discrete Souls level.
Okay, there is a point where it's like you roll up to this barrier, and then it's like, okay, you're going indoors now, get the fuck off, and that's
because I'm just thinking, like, I'm seeing the person, like, they're running on the top of a battlement right now, in the footage, and I can only imagine how fucking fucked up and jank it would look like if you were able to use your horse in here.
But like when I see a large boss room, it definitely makes me think like, oh, like what if I wanted to, approach it that way, like strafing in large circles around this dude instead or whatever. But that's interesting. There are some really also cool spells you see get cast, and one of them calls out a stand who fucking not just attacks the boss, but gets his attention.
Yeah.
And that is the big part about summons. Is it's not just you have help on a boss, it carries their attention away from you. And if you can do that as a spell, holy shit.
Yeah, first seen in the Dark Souls 3 Cinders mod. there now appear to be enemy type summons. They talked about this a while ago when people first saw that footage and did some of the preview coverage, where you'll be able to basically get like enemies or like, you know, Pokemons essentially that you'd be summoned to help you. You see some of that here. But yeah, no, this is 100% something from a Dark Souls 3 mod that I play. I've mentioned it here before, the Cinders mod.
Right. Yeah.
It looks to function exactly the same way.
I mean, anything, no matter what damage it does, anything that you can get that'll distract the boss from you for even a second is worth the cost of entry instantly.
And that would be more reliable than another human player because they can disconnect. And
Exactly.
You can have trouble running into them on your network's shenanigans.
Let's see what else to dance around here. No,
what are you talking about?
Nothing. I'm thinking about.
We're talking about the footage.
I'm looking at this footage. I'm looking at some of the glowing spells that we see, and I like a big glowing spell. I like a big blue sword. That looks dope. I hope that there are many attacks that follow that style, because then you get the fun of, like, if you want to swing a big blue sword as a spell, then you don't necessarily have to have the sword. You can have your own sword, but you can just summon a big cool one, and that's dope. So like, if being a spellcaster means like that type of move variety, then I might be like satisfied with not necessarily going and crafting the actual weapon myself if I can just do stuff like that, you know?
I gotta say, one of the more interesting things, because I've seen a lot of people talk about this footage, and there is a proportion of people that were using a very specific term where they had played and beaten all the Souls games, and they wanted something like more dramatically new. And I saw the phrase being used pretty consistently, like, please don't let this just be big Dark Souls.
Big Souls 4.
And you watch this footage, and it's like, that sure looks like big Dark Souls to me.
At one point,
also, some guy in the chat is dead right. Sekiro was much newer and more different, and I didn't like it as much as any of these other games.
This is true. Same here. There's a nice little pause screen you take a look at as they go to do some crafting, which, you know, I'm not a big crafting guy, but I know people love it, so that's all fine and dandy.
I also hate crafting, but if this means that you don't have to travel to a merchant every time you want to put, like, I don't know what they would call it, fire bombs?
Sure.
For a boss's weak to fire?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Because that was always one of these annoying things in the Souls games. You remember in Bloodborne, the electricity paper?
Sure. Yeah.
And you remember how you could only get like 10
and you have to go back to the fucking dream every time.
Yeah, but even then they had a limited amount in the shop.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be nice if you could just make that. Like, I can kind of get it.
In a situation that's a bit more again, Breath of the Wild, where you're coming across a bunch of shit on your journey, on your travels anyway, or whatever. It's a little less cumbersome if you have that material just sitting in your pouch.
I'm just thinking about Breath of the Wild, and I'm thinking about walking around in Elden Ring, and you hit a rock and hear "Yahaha!"
Sure, you know. But yeah, just like you know, if it's not that annoying, then cool. But in general, I'm a little down on crafting. But in that same pause screen, I'm looking here and I can see you got vigor, mind, endurance, strength, dexterity, intelligence, faith, and arcane.
I mean, that sounds pretty standard for these games.
Sure.
What is that? 9 of them? Well, all those but one is a stat that we've seen in like at least 4 other games.
Yeah, I know exactly. Like, I mean, there's no vit and vigor; it's just vigor. And then mind is, I guess it's whatever. But
mind has been in. Wait, Mind is the one that's second on the list.
Yes.
That probably replaces Attunement. It's your mana one.
Okay. Arcane, I guess, would be a, you know, just a third branch of spell shit is what it seems like it would be. And souls are runes.
How many, let me ask you. Let's say, I don't know if you're planning on covering it when this game comes out.
I'm gonna play it.
But I played Sekiro. I played Bloodborne. And I was never able to successfully break myself of the habit of saying souls. They're not souls in Bloodborne, and I don't even remember what they're called in Sekiro, but they're not souls there either. And I said souls almost every time.
I still say souls playing Neo. Even if I'm talking about Onmyo tokens.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, or Mibu salt water. Fucking yeah, they're souls. That's what it is. Amrita. They're fucking souls.
Which is weird because it's just experience. Like that's what it actually is.
But it's also money.
It's a single syllable.
Yeah.
Money and experience are 2 and 3 syllables respectively.
Yeah. And then let's see. HP, FP, stamina, equip load, poise, discovery, and then memory slots.
That's pretty standard.
Pretty standard. If Arcane is luck, then fuck off.
Why? What? You don't like having to waste your points on a stat that just increases item drops?
Give me 10 humanity and a fucking covetous serpent ring, and I'll go hunting. Leave me alone.
Yeah, well, what if in Elden Ring you can only get the covetous serpent ring after 89 hours?
Yeah. Didn't see any screens where like you would look at like ring equipment and stuff like that. It was just so didn't get to see anything like that.
Do you even see the equipment scream? Equipment scream. Do you ever see the equipment screen at all in the entire footage?
No, I don't think so. At 540, you can see the pause screen, and then the crafting occur, but that's about it.
Gee, I wonder what it looks like.
Yeah. So, just what I want. When I'm looking at that Arcane thing, whatever the case is, I'm just like, can we live in a world without troll stats, please? Like, can we live in a world where, like, the player doesn't just get fucking, you know, ruined for spending tons of souls on a stat that does nothing or that lies to you?
That sting got blunted once respecs were allowed to exist.
True.
Still
annoying.
Because Demons in Dark Souls 1, like, you can ruin your character. Like, you can absolutely level your character up into trash. Which is something that's a lot less common in 2, 3. Oh, actually, God, Bloodborne doesn't have a respec either! What the fuck? What?
And I know that obtuseness is the name of the game, but how hard would it be to just make it so that when you do hit a soft cap, the number just changes color a little bit? Just says, hey, that's a soft cap.
It's not as much.
Hey,
well, no, Woolie, what you're supposed to do is as you level, you're supposed to take into account how much the R weapon number goes up every time you do it, depending on your scaling. And this time, when you get to 40 and you go to 41, you realize, wow, it didn't go up very much at all. That's weird.
Yeah, no, my equip load went up by 0.5 instead of a full point. God damn it.
That must be the soft cap.
Yeah. Yep. You know, it just you could be a little nice. You could be a little nice. That's all. Just a little bit.
Hey, I have an idea for you. This is pretty radical. What about a system with no soft or hard caps on your stats at all?
At all.
Short of 99.
Okay. So just achieve heaven. Just keep going.
Well, like, why not? Like, legitimately, why not?
Because if what if you make the game too easy by breaking it in that way? But then it's like, well, then
Yeah,
scale.
but that means you put 100 levels into health.
Yes. Exactly. Nothing can kill you, you know? Or just make like, yeah, I mean, well, PvP becomes a whole other fucking wild thing to consider.
I legitimately can't, because the Souls games have all lived and died off of soul level. And let's see, it's one on this game it's 90, on this game it's 120, right? With a game that's going to be an open world format, I cannot possibly imagine how a community is going to hit some kind of consensus on, like, wait, do you really have to clear the whole map before your character is ready for PvP? That seems like it would be quite an undertaking.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's about all I can really squint at and glimmer and say here. I'm wondering if we're looking at a level of move list per weapon that emulates like the fullest like DS3 with arts and with possibly some weapons that might even have Bloodborne charges or, you know, forms, tricks. Like, there's a lot of different styles of combat and power stancing that we've seen over the years, and this would be a nice place to incorporate them for like specific things. You know, maybe not everything, maybe not every two weapons needs a power stance, but two Cestus definitely should. You know, maybe not every weapon needs a Bloodborne charge, but some of them could have it. You know,
we don't see anything too crazy in the footage. It's all pretty standard. But what I can say is that if this it does look like it's running on Dark Souls 3's engine, like it looks like Dark Souls 3, right? If that's the case, there's a lot of really, really ambitious mods that exist for Dark Souls 3. There's Cinders, obviously. There's also, I forget the name of it, but a guy is turning Dark Souls 3 into Demon Souls.
Wow.
And there's a lot. There's recently been a thing where people are like ripping Orphan out and having them fight Gale, and just see what bosses win. And like
that's interesting. Like, okay,
with
their AI.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They lock onto a target like anything else.
Oh my god, interesting. Okay.
I saw Lady Maria versus I forget who it was, but something else, like stuff like that.
Wow.
So
cross game.
Even if we don't get something like this, I can only imagine it is a countdown timer before people start going, hey, I transplanted Dark Souls 1 off the coast of this spot. Yarnum is now in the ocean. Teleport there with this.
Yeah. And then I guess the one other thing, and they've been, I mean, I know the story's always coy. It's always, you know, mise en scène, background, and subtle. But
now it's got the George R.R. Martin, Woolie.
But that's the thing I'm wondering about, is like, what is the part that he's getting paid the big bucks for? Because the stories that they come up with on their own without Grimm are still pretty good. How are we to know whether or not the Grimm has had a positive effect here beyond what they could have done on their own?
I can legitimately only imagine that Grimm's involvement was hit us with a creation myth and a world scenario, and then they put all the shit that they wanted to put into it anyway.
Okay. Like, we're putting
let's take, for example, the game is Elden Ring, and it's like a kind of Lord of the Rings kind of thing, right? The story is, well, the Elden Ring got split, and you know, all that shit we saw in that trailer a million years ago. The game's color palette is overwhelmingly gold. Like, you see what is a bonfire equivalent, it's gold. You see the giant gold tree that dwarfs the horizon and everything. I seriously doubt that George was the one who said, "What if you made your whole game gold?"
Right.
No.
Yeah. He's not
Somebody
the
at
art director.
FromSoft says
Yes,
the art director said, "We're going to be making the game gold. Make us a fucking story where gold is an important color."
I'm going to go a step further and say that they had that overworld dragon boss fight completely done, and then they just waited for him to say, "And then there was a dragon," and they're like, "Yep, right there."
Yeah. There
and they just pulled it off the shelf and threw it down and said, "That's the guy."
I can legitimately only imagine like the game is like half complete asset wise, and they show it to him, and they're like, "Write the opening cutscene now." I mean, for fuck's sake, how well can he know it? He called it Dark Souls 4 in an interview, for fuck's sake.
Right. And he had to, and he has his own shit going on, clearly, or does he? But that's it. Like, they could have written a wonderful story without him, and they've proven that time and time again. It's an interesting PR move to get a big name like that on board.
You know what would be the absolute galaxy brain? Hey, George, we'll pay you $300 if you just say you wrote some of this.
Just pay him to do a cameo where he just records a video of himself going, "Hey, this is George R.R. Martin. I see we got a message coming in from Miyazaki. Hey, Miyazaki. Hey, glad to hear you're a fan.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Studio Ghibli, man.
Says here you got a big birthday coming up. That's cool. Happy birthday." Yeah, just completely fucking, and then just attach his name to that shit. Why not? It'll get in the mainstream press when it drops because of it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, it's.
Hey, did you know that? Oh man, did you know that not only is Book 6 not out, but George took time to write this giant video game instead? You know what? I can't wait. There is going to be a Reddit thread on A Song of Fire and Ice Reddit. It's coming out in February, so let's say 4.5 months. Going, I've given up. I'm never going to get the ending to the story. I'm completely given up. I'm just gonna buy this Elden Ring game that I'm hearing about and just pretend that it's the ending.
This is the new ending.
And I'm just gonna pretend.
I mean, what really actually becomes a question is like, so this thing blows up, takes off, and Elden Ring becomes popular enough that it gets a novelization.
Shut up.
What's the move?
And it gets written by Brian Sanderson.
You think you can go get some other people? Who's that?
I don't know if that joke hits you the same way it's hitting some people.
I don't know who that is.
He's the guy who finished A Wheel of Time after Robert.
Oh, the Robert Jordan replacement. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. The Robert Jordan replacement. Yeah.
Sorry, Brandon Sanderson.
Sure.
Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Got it. Yeah. Totally. But first, we have to go. We can't get to a novelization until we walk by an awful Western-style comic series.
Oh, yeah.
The Dark Souls comic.
Cut to a scene. Dingy room with a single lamp looking down on a table. An unknown individual puts a gun on the table, says, "Will you do it?" And then Brandon Sanderson grabs the gun and goes, "Yeah, I'll get right on it." And then 2 months later, Game of Thrones is over.
It's done. Anyways, that's some good footage. That's some good shit. And they released some details alongside that. You got the 5 classes we looked at for the network test, and then you also got confirmation that cross-save compatibility will work. However, it is one way. You can cross-save.
Yeah, you go up.
Up, but you can't go down. So PS5 to PS4 does not exist, but you can go 4 to 5.
that makes sense, right?
Yeah, but fuck off, because Neo lets you cross-save whatever you want.
Let's just
upload
save
your shit.
ourselves a huge headache and just not talk about the things Neo lets you do.
Fine.
Because we'll be here all day.
But if you happened to want to go down from 5 to 4 for any particular reason, whatever that might be, you know, you go to a friend's house and you want to play on the 5 and then you want to take your save back home, then you could. So, anyway.
I'm watching the footage again with the part where the guy goes through the invisible wall, and if anyone had any doubts that this is big Dark Souls, did you notice that the chest that they open is the same chest?
Is it?
Going back as far from Dark Souls 1?
Oh my god. Is the chain curled forward or backward?
No, it's curled backwards.
Yeah.
Look, I'll get a fucking screenshot of it for you. I'll just send it to you.
So that's gonna be that's the thing is
like
how many.
I remember watching the footage and going, "Oh, that one's not a mimic."
How many assets are just the exact same? You know. Anyway, confirmation on that with the saves, as well as you're gonna have a performance mode and a high frame rate, so you can get your 60 frames and you got your 4K, and that'll be the state of affairs for now.
That's unshocking. And then on the personal computer, you'll probably just have all the knobs that you want to turn.
And if it doesn't unlock, I'm sure it'll take 2 seconds before someone says, "Here, unlock it. Do what you want."
I don't think they're gonna make that mistake again. Sekiro ran really well. Sekiro was a really solid PC port.
Yeah. I understand the limitations of where we are, and I understand that we're, like, especially with, they said, ray tracing is going to come later. So it's almost exactly like what DMC 5 is going through with Special Edition, or went through. And I know that it's like, pick which of these two do you care about? Do you care about having, the crispest possible image, or do you care about the crispest possible frame rate?
The frame rate. These games are hard as shit.
Of course. A million times. But, like, I hope that, like, as we go forward into the future, that this divide doesn't continue to be just like, this is the state of all games now, is, one of these two, where it's just like, I
don't know. That's a dramatically better state than it usually was, which is, hey, look, the game runs like shit.
That's
Enjoy
deal
it.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having the option.
Need I remind you, we're talking about the company that gave us PS3 Blighttown.
And we're okay with that.
Where the engine is forcibly V-synced at all frames, so it just shits itself. The instant you hit 29.99 frames, it shits itself and goes down to 15 while you're doing platforming with mosquitoes shooting blood at you.
So yeah, there you go. Elden Ring. Looks cool.
It does look cool based on that footage.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Minor other things this week. Not much, but we can just blow through it real quick. Everyone was excited, but now those who have been waiting for the reveal of Mara can go see the glorious detail that is Mara in SMT5, where for all the details, all the veins, all the anger in the mouth is now...
The animation for when Mara casts a spell is they lean down and point the top of their head at them. Exactly.
So... Mara has more animation now than ever, more attacks and different things you can see them casting in the fight. Some animator had a really fun time getting that
also,
out there.
Shout out to the fact that the Mara in that video is level 69, and shout out to the fact that Mara was the 199th demon shown in that showcase, and demon 198 was the Virgin Mary.
Uh-huh. Mary and Mara. Sure was. And shout out to the fact that the YouTube video is age restricted.
Yeah.
Because what the fuck? Yeah, they you know, they knew.
I know a lot of you are really excited about Shin Megami Tensei 5, and let me tell you, so am I. Just remember, if you happen to stream it, don't show, here's the name of the final boss dungeon in the game, thanks, Atlas, and definitely don't show you scanning bosses for their weaknesses, or else.
Yeah. I fucking... Anyway, you mentioned that last week.
We're griping at each other earlier this week
because it's literally just like they released the thing, and I'm like, I don't even want to know how bad it's gonna get because the restrictions are just getting worse and dumber over time, and it's to the honest point where it's like, hey, SMT5, like, don't even bother. Why even bother popping it into play? In any streaming capacity whatsoever.
It's wild because their streaming thing, even for the average person, has become a blight because they always spoil the final area in their guideline that says don't spoil this.
Like, make sure to show no footage after
after Eris dies.
You know. But also scanning bosses is a huge no-no. Can't show the weaknesses.
Don't do it. Which means if you're streaming it, man, enjoy not knowing a single boss weakness while recording your footage.
Or figure it out by process of elimination and write it down on paper. And
don't let people see it. And maybe don't say it out loud? I don't know.
Who the fuck knows, man? The power of Stegosaurus grows stronger every day. Anyway, that's some dumb shit.
We're going to give you, Woolie, we're going to give you all the Harry Potter books to read, but we're going to allow you to have impressions on the whole series, but definitely don't mention that Snape kills Dumbledore in any of your preview coverage.
Okay. Also, Deathly Hallows, halfway through the book, throw that shit out. Can't do it.
Just throw it out.
Stop.
Just stop reading. Definitely don't get in your car and drive by it on the way to the bookstore.
I mean, someone, old internet.
Once a month,
God
the
bless.
words, you bitch, just goes through my mind and I just start to lose it.
Someone out there. It's one of the goodies. Somewhere out there's going to be that trooper who runs that dedicated Mega 10 channel. And they're going to play, and they're going to do it, and they're going to do it without any of the guideline violations. And the last episode or 3 will just be their face cam. And
as they, what?
Oh! Yeah. And that'll be it.
And then in the description will be a coincidental link to the boss fight database.
Sure.
That it's weird, but you can actually sync it up with the footage. It's weird how that worked.
But then the muffled audio in the background and the reflection of their eye will result in Atlas fucking taking their shit down and striking them. So fuck off.
I've never been eaten by a T-Rex, but I don't wish to start.
Just you get the biggest, thickest glasses possible, like shades that have like,
yeah.
just stare at the screen like super close. Yeah. Anyway, all right. What else was going on? We got a little bit more about the DMC anime and just some basics, but it seems like it's going to be DMC 3.
It's not going to have Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt deconfirmed.
Darn.
8 episodes, multi-season. Virgil Lady confirmed. Capcom supports the show. That's the one. That's the bullet point here.
Can we get an episode that is like literally just one normal day in Dante's life?
Yeah.
I would kill for that.
I hope so.
Because
no demons.
when we were playing DMC5, we came to the conclusion that we think he literally sits in that chair for months at a time unmoving.
Yeah. No, like, you need your library episode, right? Your Castlevania library episode, or your Tales of Ba Sing Se. Just give us one of the 8 where, not even just Dante, like everyone, just what do these people do when they're not comboing demons?
Like, legitimately, can I see Dante make a sandwich? Because I don't think he eats anything other than pizza and ice cream. What does Virgil fucking do
What
with
does he
his
do
time?
when he's not doing katas and when he's not reading poetry? What's up? What's going on?
You can't do that 14 hours a day every day. You're gonna live forever, man.
You gotta figure some shit out. There's gotta be some stuff in there. You know what? I'll tell you what Virgil does. He looks at flash art for tattoos he's too scared to get.
Yeah. You know what else he does? He photoshops himself onto covers of anime.
That works too.
Man, I could do
That's
this.
good.
He goes to the grocery store and strikes a pose and then photoshops Masato next to him.
So they just had the latest arc of Teppen is what?
Then he texts Nero the screenshot and he goes, ran into your mom at the grocery
store. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just one episode. Just one. That's all we need.
Oh no.
It says Adi Shankar is working directly with Hiroyuki Kobayashi. Yeah. Well, we'll see it. Let's see it.
Hey, here's hoping it's good.
Here's hoping.
It's probably not going to be able to be as good as the stupid shit I have in my head right now, but it'll probably be pretty good.
I want just lots of downtime. You know? That's the key. And then we got a little bit of that's not the only Netflix thing. Somewhere, someone, somehow on Netflix got access to the full episodes of Part 6 Stone Ocean.
Okay.
And they just started and there's some screenshots of like thumbnails of fucking...
Oh, this is going to be great.
And it's crazy. I don't know how or why or what, but someone had access to that. So obviously, you know, be careful out there if you're worried about Part 6 spoilers if you haven't read it. But there's all the full seasons of JoJo are up on Netflix now, and this person was just filming that they had also Part 6 sitting there with a number of episodes, up to 12 were just sitting there done. So
great.
So that basically led to a bunch of other people talking about it, and someone else had access to it as well. And it's a hard series of events to trace down where it came from, how, and why. But the person who originally posted basically said that it's looking like there is going to be a Friday release schedule. And they think that it's 99% sure it's going to start December 3rd, and that they're going to be doing weekly drops. So that's really soon. That's
pretty soon.
That's pretty soon. I mean, the fact that it's up there sitting uploaded means, like, you know, they're fucking they're a good ways into that into the season. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know how or why or what, but that's there's some leaks out there. Be careful. You might see some
Be
stuff.
careful of getting spoiled on the anime of this decade.
Well, okay, so you know what it is, really, though? It's actually like spoilers for what color they chose to go with for the palette
music they used
for some of these characters. You know? Because it's like there's different versions of them on different covers, and it's like, oh, they went with that colored jacket. Okay, so sure. And then we've got just a little thing going down.
Also, heads up, before you watch Stone Ocean, go ahead and watch Sixth Sense.
All right.
Definitely want to do that before.
You can, you do that. I mean, there's a couple things. There's a couple other...
Oh, there's more than that?
Yeah, there's a couple other things, but for sure. And then we got a little information update about the state of Metal Gear from Konami for a temporary period of time starting on November 8th, which is today. They're going to be delisting MGS2, MGS3, MGS HD, the special editions, as well as the 360, 3DS, but like basically everything 2 and 3 related from all platforms, including good old games and the NVIDIA Shield, because some of the footage they used needs to be relicensed, and they have historical archive footage that was only okay up until a certain date, and now they have to go and figure out whether to pull that footage out of the game entirely.
Which was clearly a really far off date in the future.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, these games are like 20 years old.
And so they're going to be pulling them down and then figuring that out, either pulling the footage out or, you know, relicensing, and then I guess it'll go back online.
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to temporarily pull it down, and then 6 months from now, you're going to ask somebody at Konami, when the fuck are they going back up? And they're going to like, we're working on it.
And this brings up the second part of the discussion, which led to some folks, I think, going free Metal Gear was the hashtag or so, because there's a number of people that kind of then looked and went, you know, the entire franchise is kind of locked on the PS3 right now, and it feels like, you know, they're probably going to keep it that way unless... keep it that way while Sony is trying to deprioritize the PS3, because we had that situation occur not too long ago where they were like about to shut down everyone's fucking ability to purchase or do anything with those consoles, and then everyone said fuck off Sony, and so they said sorry, okay, we'll wait a little bit longer. So we know that Sony is already trying to push that to die, and right now there's a number of games that are there that you'll never get a chance. In fact, the only MGS games that are on PC that are good ports are Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, right? Everything else is pretty much stuck. So this discussion is leading to some people demanding for Konami to just, can you please give us some PC ports so that we don't have to worry about console obsolescence in the future, and then at least call it a day. For MGS4,
Konami, playing the part of the Scorpion, goes LOL. Lamau.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can only profit from the situation if your delisting is followed by a collection of some sort that you want to sell to people. But if you just delist it and say eat shit, then you don't get to profit off of that.
Yeah, well, fuck off. This ain't no goddamn slot machine.
Pachinko is the only way to experience the Metal Gear story from beginning to end.
It's the only way, man.
Yeah. There you go. That's what's going on.
Also, NFTs are now subject to federal regulation in the United States, and you'll go to jail if you don't report income over $10,000.
IRS is coming. IRS is coming. Yep.
You know what I found out recently about the NFTs, Woolie?
Mm-hmm.
You know how the NFTs have only become popular in the past year?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be surprised that earlier this year there were new money laundering laws put into place to deal with the money laundering issue with pieces of fine art being sold to and from certain individuals to clean up that money?
Oh, you don't
and then
say.
Nearly overnight, NFTs got huge financial backing from anonymous people.
Isn't
that crazy?
That's incredible coincidence. That's wild. Yeah, the explosion of multiple game companies all jumping in and being like, this is the future and this is the way it's going and stuff, and it's just kind of like, I don't know if, like, it's clear that every one of these places has someone in their ear that's going like, yeah, bro, this is it, Web 3.0, etc., and all that, and it's like, does anybody, like, on, not even just on, like cutting aside all the extra stuff, because I talked about this on the channel not too long ago, but it's like at the base level, right? Does anyone know, or is anyone discussing the fact that, like, what you're actually purchasing is not the actual minted data of the JPEG or whatever it is?
Oh no, it's a fucking scam.
It's a URL. It's a URL. You're buying a URL.
If you want a really good breakdown of the fact that NFTs are what's called a gold brick scam, you can go down to Doc's Twitter. Doc Burford put up a massive article discussing how fucking stupid this shit is, particularly for games. And I'm going to add my own shortening of that, which is, say you're playing an Ubisoft Assassin's Creed game that has NFTs, and you gain an NFT of value and need to cash it out to money. You will have to give Ubisoft your social insurance number to verify the transaction. And I don't think that's something anybody wants to do.
I sure hope that the URL pointing at what I own that's hosted by fucking funky depressed ape or whatever.
Have you seen that motherfucker?
No,
there's that guy?
There's just no, but there's like 18 monkey like stupid ones. It's always a pixel art.
Those motherfuckers stole my NFT. I reported it to the FBI. They're holding it ransom. No, wait, I paid them and they gave me some of my NFT back, and it's a fucking screenshot of the top 10% of the fucking monkey with sunglasses. These people are insane.
Like you're saying have you seen that guy? But there are multiple monkey based like palette swap. You know, so this is the crazy one. This is the angry ape. It's the sad, depressed monkey. This monkey's the captain of a boat.
The one that got me.
It's always a monkey.
Like, these people are hyper susceptible to this kind of scam, and there's no saving them. They're the same type of people who would get in a multi-level marketing scheme or a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme or a cult. And that is the gentleman. I'm going to assume it is because it's crypto bros or whatever the fuck, but the dudes who got hosed for a totality of, I'm using fucking big air quotes here, $67.8 million when the owner of all those ape NFT, that market just fucking left, just fucking pieced out and disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And the important thing is that the person running that database was paid real money and then disappeared with real money.
Mm-hmm.
And then these people were left with, you know, a database that was worth nothing and did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Literally the next day, a similarly named ape NFT collaboration
always apes.
They were going to buy back certain people's things and build it up, and all they had to do was take their existing NFTs and invest it in their database or whatever the fuck it was. And it was just thread after thread of thank you. How much can I, can I buy 10 hyperlinks? Well, because I feel really hosed by those last people. And it's just like, you guys are saints, really. And it's like, oh my God, you fucking people.
Well, what you're failing to understand is that it's 1-to-1 with the Sigma grind set. The Venn diagram is a perfect circle. It's the dark sign, right? The Sigma grind set is the burning ring that's surround. it's a 1-to-1. Oh boy! All right.
It's
It's the only way Gwyn could fucking, set himself apart.
It's unbelievable. I'm like looking in my Discord right now. There are people saying that the head of Discord right now is talking about NFT integration into Discord, and you have Ubisoft, EA, Square Enix, etc., where NFTs are the future. And like literally on Saturday, NFTs are now regulated like a fucking security in the US, and that will follow within various other places. I'm like, Square Enix and Ubisoft and Discord, do you guys want to be responsible for running banks? Do you know what that fucking means for your company?
Thumbnails of Gwyn with a shocked YouTube face as the text is like like
crypto emergencies.
Emergencies! You have to act now. These are set NFT emergencies set to blow up by November 31st. Link the fire now.
Oh man.
You have to link the fire now.
But won't Link the Fire burn my humanity?
No, now hurry if you don't get
your humanity safe in the blockchain.
Yeah. And then last thumbnail, just Gwyn hollowed out. Why I hate crypto souls. It's good.
Sif coin was a bust.
Damn. What about Estes though? $ Estes is blowing the fuck up.
Yo, Estes monkey coin coming at you.
Estes apes.
So I have to say, by the way, the reason why it's apes so much, like there's like legitimately a reason, is because they made apes, and apes appear to be easily templated.
I assumed it was because LOL's so random.
No.
Monkeys, waha.
I believe these are like nearly all being made on like a Japanese like avatar creation website, and like
like Pikru stuff.
They are, yeah. I think it is actually literally Pikru, and they're either auto-generated or they're easy to templateify, which is why they're all the same lion or ape or whatever the fuck. But this one's got a pirate hat, and this one's got glasses, and this
which is just a million steps removed from like the artist that is an actual artist that is looking at this and was thinking, this is supposed to be beneficial or whatever.
Wait, it's the apes together strong meme.
Oh
my god!
Oh yeah,
dude,
yeah.
This is getting
that's totally it. That's
by
totally
the
it.
minute.
That makes that's super obvious now that you think about it. That totally makes sense.
By the minute.
That's absolutely why it's always...
I don't know, man. If you want to invest your money in a completely decentralized, anonymous currency that doesn't actually mean anything and isn't backed by fiat, and you want to trade it to other idiots who might be laundering for you or
buy a house in FF14.
And the only way that you can make any money off it is because you can drive up the price by it being completely anonymous, despite the fact the U.S. government just removed its anonymity literally 5 days ago. I don't know. Why not buy, I don't know, gold? At least gold is there. Woolie, unironically, FF14 housing markets are more real.
Might be more real
than this shit.
Let's take some letters. I mean, look, I think we'll see what happens, but like all these studios at the same time mean we're gonna find out very quickly. Like
Now, as people who point out, this law is only coming into practice in 2023, which means from now until January 1st, 2023 is the time to get your hustle on and see if you can make some money off of this.
But yeah, no, just to finish the thought, like you're gonna find out very quickly because all the different companies that are trying to implement this at EA and Ubi and so on you're gonna see this is all happening right now, so the timing of development to turnaround is going to be similar, and the rollout will show you all the bad ideas at once. When it eventually actually hits the market
simultaneously 1 month before the fucking securities comes down on them. And we're gonna see I bet we're gonna see a bunch of these games get announced and then just, whoa, where'd it go? Why didn't it come out? What? Why? Did the legal requirements for reporting become too horrible?
If you've got a letter, you can send it into castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com. And once again, that's castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com. And we might read it.
We might.
For example, Misunderstanding in Mooresville says, situationally terrible game names. Hey, Woolie and Pat, I recently had a friend tell me to my face while standing next to David, her boyfriend. David finished inside. This was not spurred by an earlier conversation elaborated on and was completely out of the blue, given that we were standing inside, and after staring at her and David for multiple seconds and struggling to find an appropriate response, I asked what that meant, and soon clarification was reached that she was referring to the 2016 puzzle platformer Inside.
I didn't know where this was going, and then it went somewhere, and yeah, that's
maybe this is what happens when we stray too far from war face, war dawn face, war. Yeah, we need to just stick to the basics on the slot machine.
Dawngate coming at you.
Gate face. Gate dawn. Dawn. Anyway.
Dawngate's always the one I go to because we struggled for years to remember it.
That's good. That's good. Jared says, Dear Tangela and Trubbish, keep it short and sweet. Reading back through Lord of the Rings, noticed that Boromir's horn splits during the final battle. Went back and watched the movies again, and it said that his horn was intact, but split off screen between the second and third times he gets shot. The camera draws attention to this when it happens, and I think that sort of Easter egg is awesome. What are your favorite subtle Easter eggs? That's cool. I like that.
I was actually just looking at Easter eggs for one of my favorite movies last night, The Thing. And there's 3 that come to mind. One is when Knowles comes in and complains about somebody throwing out their dirty drawers. It looks like somebody shit themselves, but it is in fact Long John's covered in blood because the Thing got somebody. The second of which is that who destroys the blood in the middle of the movie is actually very confusing until you rewatch the scene where they run outside to see beddings and realize that Windows drops the keys. His hands are below frame, and so you only hear a key noise hit the ground and discover, oh, somebody must have run in there, grabbed the keys, got to the blood. And the third one is that the Thing hates Windows. The character. The Thing, as Palmer, repeatedly draws attention to and blames Windows for everything they possibly can in every scene. And in addition, when Palmer becomes the thing and attacks them, he immediately attacks Windows first instead of McCready.
It's not that deep, but I always thought it was pretty fun how in Kill Bill, in the fight scene with Vivica Fox, when they're talking about like having their duel at dawn, and like she's preparing the cereal for her daughter, like the cereal box she's like pouring out has like a clown on it, and it's called like Bang cereal or something like that. Like the name on the cereal is like Kablam or so. So that like what immediately follows is hyper telegraphed.
Good old Kablamos.
Yeah, that's always fun. Cool.
All right, that's it.
Let's take a small one right here. Hey, Pat and Woolie. Mighty Max T wants to know, light, simple question.
Oh, hey, Mighty Max.
Was thinking about, what is your ideal RPG party size for the battle and for the game? FF
4.
runs the gamut between 3 to 5, and battles have 4 to 14 for the cast. Curious on your takes.
4.
I think 4 is good.
Universally.
I think 4 is good. Especially with Darkest Dungeon on the brain. I think that's enough to like have, support, healer, damage, DPS, or tank DPS. You can kind of get a nice variety in there. 5 is like I think of FF10. I'm thinking of like you can getting 5 out there is a little wild. It gives you some versatility, but it's not strictly necessary.
I want a tank, a DPS, a healer, and a flex spot.
Sure. The 3 essentials and something to mix with. Yeah. Again, Darkest Dungeon is giving, it's on the brain right now, and that's exactly what you end up with most of the time. And if you want to go wild and be like, nah, fuck it, 2 tanks and some crazy shit, you can do that kind of dive comp as well as it used to be called in the Overwatch days. Yeah, 4 is a solid. Alrighty. That'll do.
Make sure to go to twitch.tv/PatStaresOut on Wednesday at 7 o'clock for a secret stream. Go there.
Probably going to dig some fucking stupid jank out of the barrel for fighting games this week. I'll let you guys know, but it's going to be some dumb shit. Rest assured. Don't you worry.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.